Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto does his training without anyone else knowing. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. It was a peaceful night time in the village of Konoha. The villagers had done their deeds for the day and went home to rest. But it was not so for one person. Amidst the forest, an orange blur can be seen if one squint their eyes. The blur was wearing an orange jacket and orange trousers, as if he wanted to be seen as the center of attention. Blue goggles perched on his head, and a pair of blue sandals covered his feet. He stopped at one of the clearings within the forest to catch his breath. Who? Finally made it. Man, this thing is heavy, he said in relief that he found the place where he's supposed to meet him. Short stature, blonde hair, ocean blue-colored eyes, 3 pairs of whiskers on each side of his cheek. This person is Naruto Uzumaki, the 12-year-old energetic troublemaker child from Konoha who is hated by most of the villagers, much to his confusion and sadness. On his back, he carried a huge scroll, a scroll that contains many forbidden jutsu and mysterious things from the past. The scroll was created by the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, to keep it from prying eyes who seeks to empower themselves with the things inside it. How could he possess such a thing, you may wonder? Well, it so happens that the boy was determined to become a shinobi, but yet he failed the test that would allow him to become a full-pledged genin, due to his inability to create a bunshin. Irika Yumino, his teacher who also happens to be one of the people who cared for him, and is his big brother figure, was visibly saddened, but yet there was nothing he could do. On his way to a Chiraku ramen stand to literally eat his sorrows away, Naruto met Mizuki, his sensei, who said that if he could steal a scroll from the Hokage residence, he would become a genin. Naruto had sensed there was something wrong. Of course, he's not stupid by any means. But he is not that smart either, he just likes acting like an idiot to get attention. But back then, he was overwhelmed with a sense of hope and happiness that clouded his better judgment, so he accepted. It turns out that he was quite handy at stealth. Even though there were some hiccups at the infiltration part of the mission, he managed to steal one of the scrolls from the inside of the guarded residence, which was quite impressive. And now, here he is, waiting for his sensei to come and congratulate him. But as time goes on, he got bored. Where is Mizuki-sensei? It's been 35 minutes since the time we were supposed to meet, he thought. Looking at the scroll, he was tempted to open it and learn something from it. Well, I guess I could still kill some time. He opened the scroll, and there were many things, from an array of forbidden jutsu, sets of pictures that depicts ancient martial arts from ancient times, and scriptures with a language that has been long forgotten. And there was one thing that attracts his attention. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, an S-rank technique, allowing him to create a corporeal clone of himself that's stronger than normal bunshin and capable of offensive capabilities due to its uncanny physical resemblance to the original. Without hesitation, Naruto immediately started learning how to conjure it. At the very least, he wants to learn something similar to bunshin, the one jutsu that he's horrible at. The door leading to the library filled with the scrolls was left open. Hiruzen just couldn't believe this. Someone infiltrated his residence and took the scroll without him knowing. And not to mention that scroll also contains that thing. When he found the space for the scroll was vacant, he immediately goes to check the possible perpetrator using the crystal ball that he used to monitor the village using his familiarity of the person's chakra pattern. He checked on one person in his mind, one person he considered impossible for him to do such a thing. And what he found surprised him. For he saw that Naruto, of all people, carrying the scroll towards the forest with an innocent, yet determined smile on his face. Why did you do this, Naruto? Hiruzen muttered disbelievingly. There must be a reason why he did this. Was it for attention? Or because of anger, due to the fact that he failed the test? He shook his head. No, it wasn't that. That is not a smile one would have out of anger, and this is a bit too far for him to just create some attention. Maybe I should wait for a while, let things unfold, Hiruzen said as he begins contemplating why Naruto would do such a thing. It was an hour later when Naruto finally managed to activate the Kage Bunshin, but yet, Mizuki haven't arrived. Where is he? Naruto muttered, as he starts to have a bad feeling for the first time since the past few hours. What is this? Why didn't he arrive yet? Maybe it was a bad idea for me to trust him. He did look kinda fishy when he told me to do this. Unaware to him, his tenant sighed at his host's late moment of realization. But although Naruto couldn't hear him, he could felt it. It's as if someone, somewhere in the world sighed in disappointment at what he's doing. Naruto decided to take his mind off his worry by reading the scroll even more. Then, he found an interesting page. It was a containment seal, and there was a note on the side of it. To whoever it may concern, never open the seal and what's inside it, for if you do, severe consequences will befall you. Hashirama Senju. Intriguing, he thought as he read the note, even though the first Hokage himself clearly stated that he doesn't want this thing to be unleashed into the world, he couldn't help his desire to open it. What can he say? It's in his nature to be curious. How do I open this thing? Naruto muttered out loud. Maybe it would open if I channeled some of my chakra into it, he said as he placed his palm on the seal. Unbeknownst to him, however, is that the seal was created by one Mito Uzumaki, Hashirama's wife, and it recognized the Uzumaki chakra pattern and responds accordingly. It glows for a while before a smoke poofed out of the seal, indicating that he had unlocked the seal. When the smoke cleared down, there was a crystal the size of his palm glowing with blue color that seemed so dissonant with the world around it. Whoa, what is this thing? Naruto asked, mesmerized by the glowing crystal and the power that emanates from it. As his hands grasping the crystal, Naruto began to feel weird. His head feels a soft stimulation, as if someone is stroking his hair a little too hard for his comfort. His eyes got somewhat blurry as he's getting a hard time seeing his surroundings, and he's starting to feel light, as if he's got a fever. And he never got sick in his entire life of eating nothing but ramen. What's happening to me? He muttered weakly. His eyes were staring at nothing in particular. His nose started bleeding, and not a moment later, he passes out as the crystal glowed bright red. Inside the sewer, the manifestation of Naruto's mind created by the seal in which the nine-tailed fox resides, Kyuubi could feel his host's body stirring and changing when he touched the crystal that was locked by Hashirama Senju. It looks like that whatever that thing was, it was capable of changing the structure of the chakra coils. No, Kyuubi thought as he felt that Naruto's chakra coils began to merge completely into his body, thus enabling him to manipulate chakra energy to a greater extent than even a high-class shinobi would, and in return, it also disrupts the seal that imprisons the Kyuubi. Making it a bit weaker, it seems that it eliminates them, and creating a whole new system for circulating the energy that would allow him to easily channel his own internal energy and external forces to extend his control outside his physical body. Maybe he could even have control over forces of nature, but it doesn't seem to be enough. The Kyuubi grinned, not just because it disrupts the influence of the seal, but also about his host's massive improvement. He had watched how the kid is practically being denied of his potential just because a bijou was sealed within him. The prejudices from the other people in his village really disgust him. Even though he is somewhat apathetic to humans, the Kyuubi would never hurt them on purpose. Even his attack on the village was caused by a man calling himself Madara Uchiha, not by his own will, because that's not what the old man taught him and his siblings. But now, it seems that there is a chance that he could get this kid what he should have gotten several years ago: love, respect, and acknowledgement, and not to mention that he wants to pay the kid back for the things he went through because of his presence inside of him. Not to mention her involvement in this should make things more interesting. When Mizuki along with Iruka reported Naruto's disappearance a few hours ago, Hiruzen saw a glimpse of a sadistic and gleeful visage on Mizuki's face, and he immediately knows that he had something to do with it. And so when he sent many other shinobi along with Iruka and Mizuki to find Naruto, he knew that he only have to watch out for Mizuki, so he told the team of A and BU to keep an eye on him. But when he had returned to the crystal ball, he saw that Naruto was unconscious and bleeding profusely through his nose. Looking at the boy's hand, Hiruzen was extremely terrified when he saw the familiar blue crystal glows red. Iruka was never comfortable seeing somebody in pain, especially if it was a child. So when he saw the unconscious form of Naruto lying in the ground of the forest, bleeding from his nose, Iruka was terrified that something had happened to him. "Oh my God! Naruto!" Iruka screamed in worry as he ran towards Naruto's unconscious form lying in the ground, with his hands still grasping the crystal tightly. Looking at the crystal that glows menacingly, Iruka deduced that it must be the reason why Naruto is unconscious. He tried to take it away from Naruto's hand, but the moment he touched it, the crystal rejected him, as Iruka's hand suddenly felt as if it had been put on a blazing fire. Iruka pulled his hand and saw that his hand has indeed been burnt, but how? How can that crystal emit such heat? Iruka thought. Then, as if on cue, the white-haired Chunin came down from a tree with a sadistic expression plastered on his face. "Well, it looks like I don't have to do much after all. The demon has killed himself because of his stupidity." "Ha ha 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 ha." Mizuki laughed maniacally. "Mizuki, so it was you who ordered him to do this?" "Who else? I only have to tell him that he would be a genin if he gave me that scroll, and because of the failure of his test, he gladly accepted it. Ha! What a fool! Doesn't he realize that no one wants him? Demons like him would be better off dead." "He is not a demon. Even though the QB was sealed within him, that doesn't mean that he becomes like the beast inside him. The Yondaime sacrificed his life to seal the beast inside of him. At the very least, we might as well treat him with the respect he deserves. Without Naruto's sacrifice, the QB would have destroyed our village back then. The Yondaime was a fool. He should just order us to kill the kid when he was a baby. The demon would be dead and no one would miss him anyway. Iruka was taken aback. You would dare to kill a child? To never let him live just because he has a burden that he had never willingly volunteered to carry it? What kind of monster are you? I'm not a monster. That thing is. Mizuki yelled as he points towards Naruto, and I'll do what the Yondaime failed to do and kill him right now, he said as he pulled a kunai and ran towards Naruto. Iruka saw this. He drew his kunai and blocked Mizuki's, creating a loud sound of clashing steel. Why are you protecting him? He murdered your family. If anything, you should be glad that he's dead, Mizuki yelled through his gritted teeth as he tried to push Iruka's kunai. He's not responsible for that, the QB is. To me, he is Uzumaki Naruto, a boy determined to overcome people's hatred and prejudice and become the greatest Hokage that ever lived, and if you can't see that, then we have nothing else to talk about, Iruka said with conviction. The crazy white-haired Chunin coughed when Iruka planted his fist on Mizuki's stomach. From the opening that he made, Iruka slashed his chest, creating a deep gash on his chest. You bastard! Mizuki mouthed out before he summoned a giant shuriken and preparing to hurl it to Iruka. I'll kill you! But then, a sword placed on his neck stopped him. For behind his back there was an Anbu wearing a cat mask, and long purple hair flows from her head. She was Yugigo Yuzuki, one of the Anbu that the Sandaime had ordered to watch Mizuki. When she saw that he was the one who ordered Naruto, she waited for him to tell his reasons. But when she saw how crazy he is to think that the Jinchuriki is responsible for everything that his tenant did, she was tempted to drop down and give him a piece of her mind, but held her ground. When she saw that he was going to kill Naruto because of his burden and a fellow shinobi of Konoha just because he doesn't agree with his hatred, that was when she decided to intervene. Then, she snapped her fingers and multiple Anbu drop down and surround Mizuki, who becomes terrified when he realizes that he is severely outmatched and outnumbered. By the order of Sandaime Hokage, you are arrested for manipulation of a civilian to steal something of important value to the village, and threatening to kill a fellow shinobi for no good reason. You have the right to remain silent and to plead yourself in front of the Hokage, not that it would do you any good. She muttered the last part. Mizuki, afraid out of his wits and about to excrete feces in his pants, became even more afraid when the Sandaime himself came, and the expression on his face could kill him if the saying looks could kill were true. Hokage-sama, what are you doing here? Asked one of the Anbu that wore a taper mask. The Hokage didn't answer. He merely said, take this man to Ibiki, and make sure he will be locked up in a cell where someone would make him his plaything. He mouthed out. His tone made even some of the Anbu flinched. Nico, you stay here, and look after Naruto. It took Yugigo a few seconds before she released the hold her sword has on Mizuki and let the others took the Mizuki away as he pleads not to be taken to prison where he would be someone's bitch. That was quite harsh, Hokage-sama, Yugigo said after Mizuki was shined away by the rest of the Anbu. The man called Naruto a demon. That alone guarantees his sentence because he broke the law that forbids us to speak about it in front of said person, unconscious or not. And not to mention he used him to steal the forbidden scroll for what I'm sure in a selfish act to empower himself, and would have killed Naruto if Iruka wasn't here, and because he is not a genin yet, Naruto can be considered a civilian. It was the final nail on his coffin. Hiruzen said, although he deliberately ignored Iruka's mention of the QB in front of him as well, but Yugigo already knows that the reason was that he was angry at Mizuki for wanting to kill Naruto, whom he considered as his own grandson. In fact, there were times when someone would plan to corner Naruto to beat him, but Hiruzen ordered them to prevent it before Naruto could be aware of it, and it led to some people went missing. Yugigo smiled beneath her mask. Truth be told, she was one of the Anbu who regularly watched over Naruto over the years and watched almost every moment of his life, from the way he was treated horribly by most of the people. And when some of the so-called low-life prostitutes in the red light district would take care of him when they saw him hungry because he had no money to pay for the overpriced food most of the merchants gave him. Needless to say that she grows to care for him, and she lamented the fact that she wasn't able to do anything for him due to her position as an Anbu. When she got a good look at Naruto, she saw that Iruka is kneeling in front of him and checking his condition. She finally noticed that his nose has stopped bleeding, but he's still unconscious as the crystal that he holds had turned to resemble a coal, as black as night itself. What happened to him, Iruka-san? Asked Yugigo. I don't know, the crystal must have done something to him. When I touched it, it burnt my hand, he said as he shows the affected hand, but it seems to do something else to him. He reacted to the crystal's amplitude. Iruka and Yugago turned to Hiruzen. That crystal was found by Tobi-sensei during one of his trip on looking after the small settlements in Hai no Kuni. It released subtle, yet powerful waves of energy. In the past, it led to some people who weren't able to withstand its influence to go mad due to prolonged exposure. But yet, this reaction isn't what I expect to take him to the hospital. We need to check his well-being and the crystal effects on him. Iruka nodded, and moved his hands towards Naruto to carry him. But then, the boy opened his eyes and jumped away. The sudden movement made Iruka back away for a bit, but then Iruka, along with the Hiruzen and Yugago, saw his eyes. Instead of its usual blue, Naruto's eye color has changed to menacing crimson, and his pupils were slitted. Neither of them moved for a moment, before Naruto turned his head towards a direction and jumped upwards, and much to the spectators' shock, he jumped very high, until he stopped and floats in the sky. The versatility of this power is quite impressive. They heard Naruto spoke, his voice was a few octaves deeper. Then, with a slight booming noise, he flew away, leaving the stunned spectators down below. In a seemingly featureless tract of land without trees or grass in the land of fire, there was a loud thud and the sound of the ground cracks as Naruto landed. He looked around his surroundings before he walked towards an otherwise normal spot from the field, but compared to the condition of the surroundings, the ground on the spot was a shade lighter than the rest. He crouched down and grazed the spot with his hand, as if looking for something. The vibration of the energy came from below, Naruto thought, before an uncharacteristic grin forms on his face. Well, time to test the strength of this power, he said as he backed away from the spot. Then he closed his eyes, extended his hands forward and clenched both of his fists, and through the motion of his hands, he created a localized tremor that shook the surrounding area. His body shook, and his nose starts to bleed again, but not so much as before. Then he pulled his hands. There was a huge crack before the spot was destroyed, creating a huge pit that goes deep inside. He looked upon the dark hole and wondered what could be lying beneath it. Not a moment after that, he hovered into the bottom of the pit, and what he saw was darkness, but the pit was quite deep, perhaps 20 feet high from top to bottom, also not to mention that it was night time, so despite the moonlight, the darkness still prevailed. But Naruto decided to move onward, and he found that the path is straightforward, no branching paths whatsoever, aside from the few left and right turns here and there, but nothing more. Then, he arrived at the heart of the cave, where it was filled with the similar crystal from the scroll. The walls were literally filled with the substance so much that it can be considered as the wall itself. So this is the source of the energy wave. It's a wonder why no one can sense it, considering even I could felt it from far away. Perhaps it's because he had absorbed some of the energy from the smaller crystal? Senju, what on earth have you stumbled upon? As he got closer to the big one at the center, he noticed that the crystals hummed loudly, as if responding to his presence. The humming got louder and louder until it echoes throughout the cave, but through it all, Naruto smiled. Well boy, sorry for doing this without your consent, but consider this as a payback for the shits that happened to you because of me, he said as he touched the gigantic crystal located at the center, and it turned the crystals in the cave red. Naruto slowly opens his eyes. His whole body feels heavy, as if he is carrying a bag filled to the brim with sets of encyclopedias. What happened?" he muttered. But when he got a clear sight at his surroundings, he became confused, due to the fact that there's nothing, not even a visible wall, and the only color that he can see is white. "Where am I? Am I dead?" he asked to no one in particular. "You're not." Naruto turned around and saw something that will be burned forever in his mind. The fabled being of legend, the feared Kyubi no Yoku, standing in his full glory. Unbound and uncaged. Naruto took a step back, obviously afraid that the beast would devour him whole, or something more horrific. As if not noticing the boy's fear, he continued, "Because if you did, I wouldn't be here now, would I?" Why are you doing here?" Silence reigned for a few moments before he replied, "Spending my leisure time." The terrifying beast answered. Naruto face faulted. That's not the answer that he expected, at all. When he got his bearings, he looked at the beast incredulously. "There's no way that that's the reason you're here." "I kid, boy, don't get your undies in a bunch," Kyubi explained aloofly. However, Naruto's eyes still looked at the bijou before he looked around. "If you're wondering where you are inside your psyche, the manifestation of your consciousness." "Then what are you doing here?" "I was sealed inside of you by the seal on your stomach when I attacked your village," the Kyubi answered, "and I am also the reason why you are hated by the people in your village, because for the past 12 years, I was sealed inside of you, making you a Jinchuriki, a human sacrifice, and I am your tenant, but the people of your village let their hate cloud their judgment, and they thought of you as the demon fox's offspring or something similar. Oh, was all that he could say. Seeing the seeds of anger and sadness inadvertently being placed as Naruto's aura begins to grow dark and his fists are starting to shake as he begins to feel angry at the things the villagers did and how the old man must have known, but yet, for some reason, he didn't tell him. Kyuubi decides to assure him, but don't even care what they think, you are who you are, and you being my Jinchuriki has nothing to do with your character. Naruto looked up towards Kyuubi, his face filled with shock, before it was replaced by a sad smile. It's kinda sad, isn't it? The Kyuubi raised his eyebrows. What is? That I find what you're saying to be the best thing that anyone ever said to me. Kyuubi could only sigh and look towards the boy with an emotion that can be identified as pity, depending on one's perspective. Boy, some might find it incredibly saddening that a demon is comforting a child whose childhood is so messed up that he finds it as the best thing that anyone ever did to him, and some might find it enlightening to see that even the Bijou, who are called demons by you humans, are in fact capable of feeling emotions, and not as evil as you believe. To you it might be sad, but let this open your mind a bit, for we are not creatures that can't feel emotions. It took a few moments of absorbing what he said before he nods. I'll keep it in mind, thanks Kyuubi. Call me Kurama, kid. Okay, Kurama. Naruto replied back. Now kid, if you're wondering why you're here, there's an answer for that. Which is? Remember that crystal you found within that scroll? Naruto nodded. It so happens that it did something to your body, something unprecedented, even to your shinobi world. Sensing some kind of amusement on the Bijou's tone, he asked, what did it do to me? It changed you, even more so than what I could do to your genetic pool, and considering my ability to do so, that says a lot about the crystal. Whatever that senju found, it changed how your body works, and I controlled your body for a second and… Wait, stop right there. You said you controlled my body? How? Naruto interrupted. The seal on your stomach that once held me was weakened when the crystal forcefully merged your chakra coils with your body, enabling me to possess you for a few moments. Don't worry, I didn't do anything really bad, well, except maybe showing your ability to fly using your newfound power to your current Hokage, but that's besides the point. He answered before Naruto could ask what he meant by the ability to fly. Anyway, I possess your body because I sensed similar energy to the crystal that you found, and that led me to a cave filled to the brim with the crystals, and I absorbed all of its energies. So you absorbed all the power from the cave to my body, and in doing so, making me much more powerful than that one little crystal did to me? To put it in a nutshell, Kurama acknowledged. Why did you do that? What reason do you have that makes you want me to be strong? Naruto asked, wanting to know his reason. Payback. Kurama answered, though indirectly. You went through a messed up childhood because of me, kid. Now that you're powerful, you won't be looked upon like a dirt anymore. You'll be treated like you should be. Someone who has so much potential that you could unlock if someone teaches you right. Naruto was stunned. He had never thought that the so-called fox demon is not as hateful as he thought he would be, and not to mention that for the first time in his life, he was given something of value and complimented by someone, and so, it was no surprise that tears starts to drip down his eyes as he felt happy that someone truly acknowledged him, and so he started to cry. Thank you. He yelled through his cries. Kurama sighed, looking at the son of his previous host. Beneath those similar careless, happy-go-lucky, perpetually active and outgoing personality that he can relate from his previous hosts, there lies an extremely delicate heart. No matter how much he tried to pretend that he is happy, the Bijou knows that he had bottled up all of his emotions inside. And so he waits until he let it all out. It took quite a few moments before Naruto finally calmed down, his eyes all red and puffy because of the spent tears that he had kept for many years. Feeling better? Naruto sniffed before he answered. A lot. Good, sometimes it's best to let it out rather than keep them inside. Kurama replied neutrally. Now, back to business. The power that the crystal gave you is the power to extend your range of manipulation. For example, with your brain, you can control which way you're going by using your legs to get you there, and with your brain you could also use your hands to move something towards the direction you want it to go, right? Naruto nodded in confirmation. Imagine that this ability to move your body and or move something using your physical body expanded outwards, meaning you can control things without physically touching them. And this also means that you can control things that you couldn't before, such as controlling a motion of a rock just by using your brain, and if you're skilled enough with it, you can also control the force of nature. Naruto's eyes went wide, and he couldn't help but feel a bit giddy. Such power would come in handy. No, it would be an extremely handy power to have. Amazing. What was that crystal? How can it grant powers like that? Sadly, even I don't know about that part, kid, And I believe the Senju who found this was also afraid at using this power. I think Mito mentioned this once when she told me how her day went, but I think I was too bored to listen to her that day, damn it. I wish I had paid more attention, Kurama muttered out loud. Who's Mito? Naruto asked. Kurama looked at him with his curious eyes that eerily resembled his own mother's curious stare, bore upon him. Deciding to earn his trust, he decided to tell the truth. Mito Uzumaki, my first host, and I believe that she was your great-aunt. Seeing that she's not really Kushina's mother. Naruto was excited, he had a family. But then he remembered what Kurama said next. Wait, your first host? Long story, kid, long story. To make it simple, there were 2 hosts before you, one of them is Mito Uzumaki, and the second one was Kushina Uzumaki. If you want to know who they are, you have to wait for a while, okay? Kyubi asked. Naruto was disappointed, but nevertheless agreed to wait. Because he realized that now is not the time to reveal secrets, and such, they still have plenty of time. Returning back to the previous topic, it has been a few hours since your body absorbed those energies, and your mind woke up only a few minutes ago as the energy made your body and consciousness to shut down so that you don't have to feel the pain you would receive if you were conscious. Okay, where am I now? You know, physically. You are still in Hai no Kuni, but Konoha is quite far from here, more or less 100 miles apart, northwest from here to there, I think. Whoa, that far away, huh? Okay, so what do you reckon I should do first? In all honesty? Train. This power of yours is massive, you need to learn how to control it before you can show it off to your Hokage and your peers. Naruto understood it. There's no way that he could immediately master anything, even though he can learn something quite fast whenever he wants to. There's no way that he could immediately control this power without some practice. Okay, any suggestion as to where we would be training? When I flew here, I saw a settlement not far from here, half a mile to the west. Go over there and ask for clothing and such. Your body has changed quite a lot and your previous clothes are too small for you now. From there, we'll train for at least a few days before we go back to Konoha. Naruto nodded. Okay, he said, his voice is filled with determination, but then, his expression changed to that of a confusion before he asked, wait, you flew? Using my body? Am I capable of doing that? Naruto asked. His tone didn't even try to mask the excitement that he felt. You will be after a lot of practice, now go on, wake up already. Alright. Naruto answered. He closed his eyes before he frowned. He opened his eyes and looked towards Kurama with a sheepish smile. So how can I get out of here? He asked with his hand sheepishly scratches the back of his neck. Right, forgot this is your first time here. Kurama muttered. Just imagine yourself waking up. He answered. That simple? Kurama grinned, showing his sharp teeth in the process. Sometimes things are just that simple, kid. Naruto does so. He closed his eyes, and slowly, he could feel himself waking up, and then, Kurama watched as the apparition of Naruto vanished from his mind. Kurama chuckled, obviously finding the current situation to be rather amusing. To think that the power that the Senju feared to be unleashed would come to this boy. Fate sure is a funny thing. Naruto opened his eyes slowly as he regained control of his physical body. He was lying down on his chest. Seeing this, he pushed himself up, and had a hard time balancing himself on his feet for a few seconds due to his added height. When he could fully stand up, he saw that he was in a cave, and he saw the crystals that are similar in shape to the one he retrieved from the scroll is extremely abundant, but the difference was that the crystal is now as black as a coal, due to the latent energy that was inside of them was completely absorbed to his body. And because the crystals are no longer producing light, there was only one source of light, indicating a way out, and also that it's now daytime, or at the very least, morning. Naruto walked towards the dim light, and then he found himself facing a dead end. There is a hole, but it was so high up he could climb, but he's not used to his body just yet. Great, how can I get out of this cave? Naruto said, not noticing that his hoarse voice is somewhat deeper, like he had just went through puberty. Why don't you use your power to lift you up? Kurama said. Whoa! How come I can hear you? He heard a sigh before Kurama replied back. Right, forgot to tell you this. The seal merged with you, meaning that our connection with each other is improved. Even without visiting me in your conscience you can hear my voice if I will it to. And this does mean that you are the seal now, and for me to break through is not by weakening the tattoo on your stomach, but by killing you, which is unlikely if you're powerful enough to stop anyone who would do such a thing. Kurama answered. Returning to your problem, try to use your power to lift yourself. How can I do that? Just think that you are lifting off the ground, that would be the first lesson, levitation. Try to lift yourself until you reach the surface. Okay, Naruto said as he prepared himself. he looked down and focused his mind to command his body to lift. Suddenly, the pebbles and dust around him reacted, and before he even realized it, his feet doesn't even touch the ground anymore as he found himself floating. Huh! I'm flying! I'm flying! I am flying! Ha ha ha! This is amazing! Naruto said breathlessly. Calm yourself, kid. Now, push yourself up until you manage to get out of the cave. Hua! Oh, okay. Naruto responded back, still as breathless as before. Slowly but surely, Naruto pushed himself upwards using his power. Not a moment later, he reached the surface, and landed on the ground, and he couldn't even hide the wide grin on his face. He jumped in celebration and yelled, "Hell yeah! I can fly! This power's awesome!" Now don't go around celebrating just yet, that was just levitation. True flight is when you're soaring across the sky. It's just the first step in your journey, kid. Naruto pouted and grumbled, mood killer. Then, he heard what seems to be chortle inside of his mind. I don't mean to burst your bubble, kid, I'm merely stating a fact. Although it was pretty quick for him to levitate like that, I guess he has an innate grasp of this power more than I thought he has. Naruto merely grumbled, maybe I did overreact a bit, but I was flying, damn it. Well, maybe just floating, but it still counts. No, it isn't, Kurama answered, catching Naruto off guard. For the record, I can hear what you're thinking as well, so until you can block me, expect me to butt into whatever you're saying or thinking. In response, he grumbled, fine, I'll shut up for now. Good, now, I'm sure that if you take a look at yourself you would notice that your current clothing makes you look like a clown. Naruto looked down. It's true, his orange jacket is extremely tight, and no longer hiding his figure. His orange trousers are now a pair of shorts, and his sandals could barely cover his feet. Oh man, I look hideous, he said as he removed the uncomfortably small sandals. How it seems that his body grows more than it did before, even his clothes aren't that small compared to when I possessed his body. Kurama thought before he said, don't fret, go to the nearest settlement there and ask for some clothes. If they see what you're wearing, I'm sure one of them would be more than happy to give you some clothes. Kurama said sarcastically. I'm sure they would laugh at me first, and then give me some clothes, Naruto replied back, but since I don't want to go back to Konoha just yet, I'll give it a try. Which way is it? Half a mile from here, to the west, Kurama instructed. Naruto mentally nodded and began to sprint towards his destination. As his host begins to move towards the small settlement, Kurama decided to move around the empty psyche. Due to the chakra coils fusing with his body, the seal was also dragged along, thus interfering his captivity in the uncomfortable cage that Minato had created. Because despite his wife's assurance that he won't try to break away, Minato didn't want to take any chances and modified the original seal a bit. Kushina had repeatedly apologized, and unknown to her husband, she undid the modification on the seal to let him have some degree of freedom inside her seal, like his time with Mito Uzumaki before her death. The seal that was put on Naruto was the same as Kushina's, but without her, Kurama was put in the abominable cage for several years as he watched Kushina's son being treated like a trash, a bastard child, while they should be thanking him. Granted, the Hokage did prevent physical abuses that could have been done to him, but the cold treatment of the villagers made him a bit darker. He felt his emotions when he had a passing thought of confusion of why most villagers hate him, or when he was angry at a merchant's refusal to admit that he overpriced his goods only to him. It was lucky that he still kept close contact with people like Irika, Hiruzen, and Ayam and Tucci from the ramen stand that he likes to visit most of the time, people that actually cared for him and doesn't judge him because of his status as a Jinchuriki. It was only because of their emotional support and his strong will and determination to prove them wrong that keeps him from inadvertently using my power for revenge, and considering how he was treated, if he had asked, I wouldn't be able to say no, Kurama thought sadly. But now, things are different, and maybe with this, he could help him overcome the foolishness of the villagers' treatment, and to prove that they were wrong. Suddenly he heard something from behind him, like a combination of a humming noise and crackles from an electrical source. He turned around to see what it was, and he saw light. It was formless at first, but as time passed, it's starting to look more human-like before it finally burst, revealing someone. And he was surprised to see her once again. The woman slowly woke up and groaned out, what the hell was that? Kurama, even though seeing that she is as naked as the day she was born, wasn't fazed at the very least. In fact, he merely smiled, not a perverted one, but a genuine smile with a hint of amusement and interest. Well, he said as the woman finally noticed his presence. How did you get in here, I wonder? Welcome to Shirohane. White Feather. Weird name for a settlement, Naruto muttered as he sees the settlement's plaque standing just outside of it. It was small, mostly. It contained several houses, an inn, an adequately large hall that seems to house the local leader, and a general shop, and the people around him are doing their own activities. He walked towards the general shop, passing by the villagers who are looking at him incredulously due to his clothing. One of them even points and laughs at him, but he ignored them until he finally entered the general shop named Vigilance, all-purpose shop. Vigilance, huh? Naruto thought before entering the shop. It was an adequately sized shop, most of the stuff there are for the daily lives of the villagers, yet, there are several weapons, pouches, and clothes on display as well, but it's not that surprising, considering that it did say all-purpose shop. It must be for a reason. There was also a young man attending the counter, quite good-looking, short scruffy black hair, brown eyes, wearing a short-sleeved plain black shirt, a pair of beige-colored shorts, and a pair of green-colored sandals. His height is about 5.7 feet tall. Naruto suspected that they have the same age due to his youthful-looking face. He has an emotionless visage, either he's good at masking his emotions, or that he rarely expresses his emotions. Suddenly, the young man turned his attention onto him. "Welcome to Vigilance, which is the only shop in here, so we're pretty much handling everything," he said in a smooth voice. "Well, mostly me. My sister always go out there and doing God knows what, but she always brought things. It was junk mostly, but sometimes she brought things that can be sold to other settlements, or one of the bigger merchants from one of the hidden villages. Whether from Konoha, or somewhere else, which is a good thing, considering that it's one way to gain more money, but..." He trailed off as he looked at Naruto with a sly smile. "I'm guessing you're not here to listen to my story. My name is Sakahara Shinji, but call me by my given name, Shinji. What can I do for you, newcomer?" Naruto feels a bit awkward after hearing his long ramble, but then he said, "I'm looking for some clothes." Shinji grinned playfully. "I can see that," he said in an amused tone, "but I guess the next thing you're going to say is that you don't have any money to buy one, am I correct?" Naruto laughed sheepishly. Yeah, you got that right," he said as he scratches the back of his neck. Shinji sighed, but Naruto felt as if he's only pretending like he's disappointed. "Can't help it then," he said as opened the door behind the counter, revealing a set of stairs leading towards the second floor. "Go upstairs, open the first door on your left, and search the largest drawer. It contains some of my used clothes. Pick something that fits." Naruto smiled, and said thank you, as he walks towards the door. "But wait," Shinji said, "tell me your name first, kid." The blonde young man smiled. Naruto Uzumaki," he answered, "but can I ask you something? Not that I'm complaining about you giving me clothes, but why do you trust me so easily? You even give me your used clothing for free." Shinji shrugged. "Call it a hunch. You look like someone who's not that good at lying, and they also say that I'm an excellent judge of character, so I'll give it a shot, see where this'll lead." That's it, he confirmed, "but you need to pay me back for it. Say stay for a while, and do some grunt work." "Ah," Naruto said, "there's the catch." "Expected that, did you?" Shinji responded with an amused smile. "I think I like you, kid. Now go already, any minute now. My eyes are going to bleed seeing you like that." Naruto smiled sheepishly and nodded as he climbs the stairs. Outside the store, a dark cloud seems to hang over the villagers' heads as a frightening figure walks down the road towards it. The figure was female, 6.0 feet tall, heart-shaped face, long, spiky blonde hair, brown eyes that held a perpetually cold glare, and her plump lips seems to accentuate her cold expression. She wears an unbuttoned black long coat that reached to her knees, a V-neck dark blue shirt that shows a bit of cleavage of her exquisitely large, a pair of black-colored pants that hugged her lower figure very nicely, and elegant-looking black sandals with higher heels. On her shoulders, she carried an extremely large sack, containing various items. Mostly it was armors and weapons usually worn by bandits, but there's also several jewelries, from rubies to diamonds, whether it was in the form of a necklace, a pair of earrings, or even a gold tooth from an unknown source. The woman marched down, her unflinching walk intimidated most, if not all, the villagers that she passed by, and finally arrived in front of her goal. A shop named Vigilance. She knocked twice, and before anyone could answer it, she barged in with her kick that sent the door swinging wildly. Shinji doesn't act so surprised. In fact, he merely smiled knowingly and said, "Welcome home, Nei-chan. You're pretty early." She grinned. It was a pretty quick raid, 2 large camps, and no less than 35 bandits who prowled around looking for trade caravans or rich people that walks around the road without an escort or two. "I already sold most of my loot to Tanzaka guy, and let's keep the rest on the storage room for now." Shinji smiled. "Consider it done," he said as he lifted the sack with a grunt towards the basement. The blonde-haired woman discards her long coat and then goes towards one of the shelves behind the counter, grabbed a jug of sake inside it, and began to drink it. The sound of the door leading to the stairway upstairs being opened caught her attention. This fits nicely. Thanks, Shinji-san. She stopped drinking the sake and looked towards the one who spoke. He is a young man with short, spiky blonde hair, tan skin, oceanic blue-colored eyes that shines innocently, and 3 pair of whiskers on each cheek marred his handsome face. Standing at 5.4 feet tall, the boy wears a short-sleeved black shirt with a symbol of white-colored 3 concentric circles on his chest, a dark blue jeans with white stripes on each sides that goes from the waistline to the bottom, and a pair of black shoes with white shoelaces. Those are Shinji's clothing. Who is this kid? She thought. Who are you? She asked the younger blonde. The boy looks confused, but then he asked back, wait, who are you? You're not Shinji-san. I asked the questions here, kid. This is my brother's store, and you are a stranger, so I ask again, who are you? Hearing the part where she said that this is her brother's store, Naruto realized that the person in front of him is his sister, but before he could explain himself, the door to the basement was opened, and along came Shinji. Seeing the situation in front of him, he said, I see you've met my sister, Naruto. Meet Shizuka, she's my older sister. Nei-chan, meet Naruto, he's our new employee, if you want to call it that. For a few minutes there was silence, for different reasons. Shinji is waiting for either one's response, particularly Naruto, but said boy feels a bit awkward at the silence, but doesn't dare to begin, while Shizuka. She sighed, and broke the silence with, as long as you don't overwork him, we don't need an overworked child on our conscience. Hey! Naruto shouted indignantly, I'm not a child, don't worry, I can handle anything you throw at me. Although he trailed off as he walked towards Shinji and whispered something out of Shizuka's hearing range. After hearing what Naruto has to say, Shinji nodded. Of course, I'm not that tyrannical to not give you some free time after all. Then he smiled, a dazzling smile that made Shizuka's cheeks redden a bit due to his innocent cuteness. She turned her head around to hide her flushed face. Must resist hugging him, she repeated the thought to prevent herself crushing the boy's head on her bosom. Thanks. So when do I start? Tomorrow is best, I think. Shizuka answered, get used to how we do things first, Shinji, show him the ropes first, will you? Of course, he answered with a smile, be happy to. Then, Shinji began to explain what he's going to do around the store, and how to do it. Amidst it all, Shizuka looked towards Naruto in curiosity. Where have I seen him before? He looks somewhat familiar. Naruto sighed in relief when Shinji finished his quick 101 to the things he should do. Mostly it was cleaning, sending packages to clients, and help or persuade customers to pick their items in the shop. Mundane stuff, but he accepted it, mostly because out of gratitude towards the siblings' kindness. You get something from someone, you give them something back in return, it's only right. Naruto thought. After Shinji finished explaining, Naruto's stomach growled. With an amused snicker, he brought him to the restaurant at the inn for lunch. They didn't serve ramen there, but as far as he's concerned, when you're hungry, you take what you can get. And now, it was afternoon, and Naruto found himself in a clearing near the crystal cave, sitting in cross-legged sitting position, and relaxing himself by breathing in and out slowly and rhythmically. He had asked permission from Shinji to go somewhere until the evening after they had lunch, which he accepted, albeit when he asked for what, Naruto lied and said that he wants to explore the surroundings. And Shinji also said that he has to return to the store before nightfall. But the real reason was that he wanted to practice his newfound power. When he arrived at the clearing, he tried to contact Kurama, but he was unavailable, for whatever reason. However, Naruto decided that he would train, with or without Kurama's guidance. Okay, first things first, levitation, gotta master the basics, he thought. He closed his eyes, focusing towards the pebbles that he gathered around his position. With a mere thought, they rattled. Naruto concentrates even more, and then, the pebbles lifted off the ground, as if there's an invisible force that levitates them. Naruto frowned when he feels the discomforting stimulation on the back of his head. It's still somewhat painful to lift many things at once, he thought, but he kept his control over the pebbles, ignoring the itch in his head. 30 minutes pass before he becomes comfortable lifting the pebbles off the ground. This time, he pushes himself further, and lifts himself off the ground along with the pebbles. The discomfort came back, but it was only half as painful as before. I must be getting adapted to my powers, he thought. 10 minutes later, the pain dispersed, and Naruto decided to take things even further. He arranged the pebbles so that it moves in a circular motion around him, like a satellite rotating around a planet, but he's also making the pebbles rotate twofold, by circling him horizontally and vertically. Ignoring the increasing discomfort in his head, Naruto kept his control over the pebbles as he clenched his eyes shut. Slowly, Naruto made the rotation to go faster, ignoring his limits. Then, he made each pebbles rotates on its own axis while keeping them in rotating motion towards him as the axis. It goes faster and faster, each seconds passed as Naruto increases the velocity of every rotation, until Arg! A jolt of an excruciating pain from his head made him lose his focus. Naruto, along with the pebbles, stopped levitating and fell down with a loud thud. Ugh! Naruto groaned as he opened his eyes and picked himself up. But as he looked down, he saw a puddle of blood. Seeing something red dripping towards the puddle from his head, he reached to his nose, and realized that throughout his whole practice, he was bleeding profusely, and seeing the size of the puddle, it's a wonder why he didn't pass out due to large amount of blood loss. Thankfully, the bleeding has stopped, and my head feels fine now. He sat down, closed his eyes and wiped the remnant of the blood on his upper lip. Using too much of it, and the pain multiplies until I can't go on. Maybe it's like a rubber. Too much strain, it would rip apart, but keep pulling until the breaking point without ripping it, the limit of which it can stretch multiplies. If I keep on practicing, I will get stronger and stronger with each strain. Naruto deducted. He grinned, and his eyes shines with determination. Then I'll keep practicing until I drop, he said, determined to become stronger. Vigilance. Nah, Shinji, where the hell is that kid? It was late in the afternoon. The Sakihara siblings are sitting in the living room behind the store, waiting for the blonde young man who hasn't come back yet. And despite his sister's irritated tone, Shinji can sense some trepidation on her expression, inadvertently showing her worry for the blonde boy. I don't know, Nasan, he just said that he's going to take a walk. I have no idea where he went. Shizuka clicked her tongue, a sign of annoyance. You should have asked. Now we don't know where to look to find him. As if on cue, the front door opened. They went to check who it was, since the shop is already closed, and there they saw Naruto, whose expression and physical state shows how exhausted he is, as if he had been ordered to run 10 laps around the settlement non-stop. Not to mention the trails of what appears to be remnant of dried blood on his upper lip that he had tried to wipe off completely. I'm back, he said tiredly. Seeing the state of the male blonde, Shinji wanted to ask what's going on, but his sister beat him to the punch as she approached Naruto, and then she grabbed him and examined him. You're extremely exhausted, not to mention the dehydration. What were you doing to get like this? Shizuka asked. The blonde boy smiled weakly. A secret, he said before he regained his bearings and sat on one of the chairs in the living room. Seeing the looks he got, Naruto raised his hands to prevent them from asking, I'm alright, I just need a drink to recuperate. My ability to recover from exhaustion is something I'm proud of. It didn't fail me before, it won't fail me now, so can I get a drink? A water would be fine. Shizuka looked at her brother, who nodded and gave him a glass of water, which he drank without hesitation. After he finished drinking, Shizuka said to Naruto, feeling better? He gave her a thumbs up along with his foxy grin. Yup. All better now. Grill. That is, before his stomach growls again. Naruto sheepishly scratches the back of his neck. Shizuka giggled cutely, and Shinji chuckled. I'll get you something to eat, he said as he goes to the kitchen. Half an hour after he was gone, Shizuka walked closer to Naruto. Naruto, I want to ask you something, answer it honestly, she said. Sure, what is it? She took a breath before she said, do you trust us? She asked him. He hesitated a bit, but he answered, yeah, of course I trust you guys. You give me clothes and food for free. Why would you ask that? She put her hands on his shoulders. Then, tell me the truth, what were you doing to the point it made you that exhausted? She asked as he looked into his eyes. Well, he unsurely started. The more he stared at her eyes, he got more and more uncomfortable. It's as if her eyes can see through his mind. Naruto, she said as she tightened the grip on his shoulders, please. Tell me. The blonde boy becomes more uncomfortable at her piercing gaze, but inwardly, he realized something, that she merely acted like a big sister to him, a mothering big sister, even. He let himself smile, to Naruto, who spent most of his childhood without someone treating him like a part of a family. This is a new and immensely pleasant experience. This feels nice, he thought blissfully. Meanwhile, Shizuka was confused as to why Naruto smiled, and his melancholic expression saddens her. It's as innocent as a child's smile, but yet, it's also filled with something akin to sadness, and it hurts her to see him like that. Naruto? She asked, breaking him out of his reverie. Naruto looks at her, and said tomorrow. Eh? I'll show what I was doing to you and Shinji-san tomorrow, is that okay? She raised her eyebrows in confusion. Why can't you tell us now? He smiled. Let's just say that I'd prefer to show it to you guys rather than tell you, but I'm too tired for it now. The blonde-haired woman became more confused as to what he meant, but before she could ask more, Shinji arrived with 3 bowls of katsudon. 2 of them are bigger than the last one. Here you go, it's katsudon. I made them for all 3 of us, along with extra portion for you Nei-chan, along with you Naruto, because it seems that you need the extra servings, he said as he picked the regular-sized bowl. All right, Naruto said as he grabbed one of the bigger bowls and began to eat the katsudon vigorously. Shizuka sighed, but smiled when he watched the Naruto eating the katsudon with a bright smile. Unlike the previous one he had, she took one of the bigger bowls and began to eat it as well. It was another 20 minutes gone when they finally finished eating the katsudon. Gotcha, Sasama, Naruto and Shizuka said at the same time. Shinji chuckled. It turns out that you're a voracious eater like Nei-chan. I swear, are you related to any of us? Naruto chuckled sheepishly. Hee. I don't think so. I think I'm just a passionate eater. I think passionate is an understatement, but nevertheless, it seems that you're all better now that your stomach is filled. That's a relief. Naruto grinned and said, What did I tell you? I can recover from anything easily. Shinji nodded, and will never question that claim ever again. He said evenly before he continued, Now, seeing that you don't have a place to stay, and you don't have any money to stay at our local inn, I'm proposing that you stay with us. Wait, we don't have a spare room, so where is he going to sleep? On the couch? Shizuka asked her brother. Well, considering that you have the bigger room, and that your bed is bigger than mine, why don't he sleep with you? He asked it as if it was the most normal thing in the world. Wait, what? The younger blonde said incredulously. Shinji shrugged. The viable option is either that, or having him sleeping on the couch. Which one do you want? Well, the couch is fine. No. Shizuka interrupted. You're not sleeping on the couch. He's right, my bed is bigger. It would be fine if you sleep there. But where will you sleep? Naruto asked. On the same bed, of course. No. Naruto declined as he makes an X shape using his arms. She raised her eyebrows, obviously confused. Why not? Because you're a girl. You're not afraid that I might do something to you. Will you do something to me while I'm asleep? He shook his head. No, of course not, I would never do that. But still, why are you okay with this? She shrugged. You trust us, I figure I might as well trust you at this. It got him there. It's kind of hard to refute her logic, but still. Why isn't she worried about that? Oh, maybe she only thought of me as a little brother or something. Yeah, that's gotta be the reason, he rationalized. Naruto sighed. Fine, I'll sleep with you, he grumbled with a little blush on his cheeks. Shizuka grabbed him and pulled him into a headlock. Ah. You're blushing. So cute, she said as she pinched his cheeks. Hey. Let me go, Naruto said as he struggled against the older blonde's grip. Seeing this, Shinji merely chuckled. It's just like how she used to dote me all the time when we were little, he thought as he sighed. Well, even though I can just offer him my room and sleep in the sofa, this is much more interesting, he thought mischievously. Naruto stared at the double bed in front of him. What are you doing? Get on the bed already, drawled Shizuka. He looked behind him, and saw the figure of the blonde woman, who are only wearing a peach-colored pair of short shorts, and a black shirt that did nothing to hide her navel, nor her cleavage. And he wears black shorts along with an orange shirt from the drawer, but due to the rarity of underwear, he is thinly layered. And if she crawled over to him in bed when they're asleep, let's just say that when he wakes up, he's going to be in a deep trouble. He walks towards the left side of the bed, and lied there while facing the wall, the direct opposite of facing the other side of the bed. Good night, he mumbled out. He heard her giggle before sighing, then he felt the bed shook a little bit as she climbed to the other side of the bed. Good night, Naruto, she said to him. And so, both of them drifted off to sleep. That is what Naruto wished would happen. For the past 30 minutes, the blonde boy tried his hardest to go to sleep, but he was unable to do so due to the thought of sharing the bed with the older, and much more mature blonde woman besides him. Not to mention her fragrance that caused him discomfort, due to him not used to being in such close proximity to a girl. Sleep. Damn it! Go to sleep already, Naruto. Just ignore her scent. Her sweet relaxing scent. Why do I think about that? Now I can't stop thinking about it. Well, he summed it up pretty well on his inner monologue. But, as he clenched his eyes shut to ignore the fact that he's sleeping in the same bed with an adult woman, he felt a familiar pull on the back of his head, and before he knew it, his physical body shuts down as he entered his psyche. And the emptiness of his psyche welcomes him once again. He looked around, and when he didn't see Kurama anywhere, he called him Kurama. Where are you? The echoes of something materialized diverted his attention. And there he was, the gigantic nine-tailed demon fox stand on all fours and looking at Naruto with a grin. You rang, kid? He asked. Naruto looked at the huge fox without fear in his eyes. Merely a slight annoyance. You're the one who called me here, right? Not that I'm complaining, it helps with my current predicament. In response, Kurama's grin widened. I noticed it was also one of the reasons why I pulled you here in the first place. He blushed a little bit, but he said thanks for that. By the way, now, what's the other reason? The fox's expression turned serious, and then he said it's about a problem I encountered when I checked your psyche. What did you find? Naruto asked. He looked towards Naruto, and asked him, did you feel any different? As if you're not acting like you used to? It took a minute before Naruto said no, at least I don't think so. Why would you ask that? Because if you didn't change before, it should happen in the next few days. Naruto was confused as to what Kurama mean. Actually, confused is a mild way to put it. What Naruto feels right now is a mixture of bewilderment, perplexity, and a twinge of discombobulation. Wait, what the hell are you talking about? Kurama sighed before he said it had something to do with what was put within the seal. Kurama started, you know the fact that you were sealed by Yondaime Hokage, right? Naruto nodded, yeah, I do know. I pieced together what you said about me being your Jinchuriki and about how it must be Yondaime who sealed you, because he's the one who allegedly defeated you. Naruto answered. Kurama went silent for a fraction of a second, before he asked how, and when, did you come to that conclusion? Naruto placed his hand on his chin as he tried to remember when, before he answered, I guess it was when I'm practicing my powers. Come to think of it, I did feel strange back then, like a moment. Flashback, hours before Naruto came back to the store. Naruto was sitting beneath a tree as he catch his breath and wiping the blood on his upper lip. He managed to exert his limits beyond what he can do, proving that the more he used it, the more he get used to it, and the stronger it will become. Right now, he can control massive amount of pebbles, and with his power, he also uprooted a tree and managed to lift it for exactly 10 seconds, but that really pushed him over the edge as he's become immensely tired, due to the amount of blood loss and the pain on the back of his head. As he closed his eyes to calm himself, he thought, yes, I did it. I managed to lift the tree off from the ground, but then, he said, but not without a cost though, he tiredly muttered. He chuckled tiredly, and before he knew it, he began to drift to sleep. And during which, he saw glimpses, like a broken record that shows segmented chapters randomly. There was a vision where he was sitting in the Shinobi Academy, but there was no one that he could recognize, and on the same place, there was a hot-headed redhead who claimed that she was going to be the first Hokage who is a woman, and how the whole students laughed at her except for him. Then he saw glimpses of him plunging a kunai on someone's throat, him studying an intricate seal, him moving so quickly from one place to another, and him rescuing the grown-up redhead from before and held her on his arms as she looked at him affectionately. On the last vision, Naruto abruptly opened his eyes, his pupils dilated as he still remembered those vivid dreams as if it was a memory that he couldn't forget. What the hell was that? He muttered out loud. But I figured that it was only a dream, so I pay it no mind, he said before he turned to Kurama. That doesn't mean anything, right? There was another moment of silence before Kurama said, hate to burst your bubble, kid, but that does mean something. Before Naruto could ask what he meant, Kurama continues, look here, he said as he walked towards a particular direction towards something. He stopped, and then he extended his hand, and there was a shimmering light. A moment later, the shimmering light formed a rectangular shape, and it shows something, like a recording of some kind. Naruto looked at it as it shows multiple segments of events. As Naruto looked on, his expression betrays the bewilderment that he feels. Those are the visions that I saw. How dash? Kurama sighed. The echoes reverberate throughout Naruto's psyche. It has something to do with the seals that was in your stomach. He answered, you see, when the Yondaime sealed me, he also put something else. It turns out that there were two seals, one containing me he trailed off, and one of them contained his body double, his doppelganger. Wait, Naruto asked, as he rubbed his fingers on the bridge of his nose. Am I right to assume that he put that as a last resort if I were, for whatever reason, release you from your cage? Kurama smiled. I thought the same thing as well. That was his primary reason, but the problem is that the seal containing his doppelganger also merged with you, and since it's a near-perfect copy of him, it also contained his personality, part of the original's powers, and with it, his memories until his death. Naruto's eyes widened. So those dreams were his memories? He's a part of me now? Kurama nodded in a sense. Right now, his identity is forever lost, but his memories and some of his power still remain in yours. Naruto's expression looked aghast. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe he had inadvertently absorbed Yandame's memories and essence. What will happen now? I'm not going to have some identity crisis where I can't differentiate myself from him, am I? Naruto asked, his tone filled with worry. Kurama shook his head. No, it won't be that way, I admit. I speculated that scenario as well, but the repercussion isn't as fatal as that. Consider it like an enhancement for you. It won't change you 100%, but it will improve you to say the least. Naruto sighed in relief. Oh good, he said. I thought I'm going to lose my personality, or something. That really terrified me for a second, he muttered in relief. Seeing his reaction, Kurama merely grinned. Well, initially, I also thought that you would lose your personality and he would materialize here instead of you, but after I did a lot of checking, that wasn't the case. Just thought you should know about what I encounter, in case the memories already seeped in. Naruto smiled at Kurama. Well, thanks for the heads up, I appreciate it. Anything else I should know about? This time, Naruto managed to see the fox's expression change to that of hesitation, if only slightly, but it soon changed to a more composed one. No, if I found anything else, I will let you know. Naruto frowned lightly. He's hiding something, he thought, but he quelled the desire to ask him as he said, very well, good night, Kurama. He said as his apparition dispersed, indicating that his consciousness has moved to his physical body. A moment after he's gone, a figure emerged from behind Kurama. As if recognizing her presence, he sighed, and said, I sensed your hesitance to show yourself to him back there. Mind telling me why? Kurama said as he turned to the woman behind him. Kushina? On her part, the woman with long red hair clothed in earthly-colored short-sleeved shirt and black long skirt looked serious. I told you, Kurama, it's not the time. He doesn't even know who his father was yet. And your hesitance doesn't help the matter at hand, Kurama replied back. What do you think is going to happen? That he's going to start hating you for your action of sealing me into him, and making him experience a childhood where he's mostly estranged by the villagers and their children out of their stupidity and hatred. From what I have seen, he won't do that. He will get angry, sure, but not to the extent of hating you. Kushina's expression brightened, even if it was only for a little bit, but she shook her head. Even though you may be right, breaking such news to him out of the blue is not the right way. Right now, he knows that he has Minato's memories, and soon, the memories will become clearer and clearer until it comes to one point when he will saw the event that will lead him to ask you directly, and then, I will show myself to him. Kurama grinned as he understood what she meant. The moment of his birth now that will raise some questions. Very clever of you. Kushina returned his grin in full force. Within those long years we spent together, how come that you expect anything else from me? Never underestimate me. Kurama merely chuckled. Deep inside him, he still can't forget his surprise when she suddenly materialized out of Naruto's psyche. It turns out that Minato also placed her in the seal, but compared to his doppelganger, she is pretty much real. It is her consciousness, not a mere copy of her former self. It took quite a long time for Kurama to explain the current situation to her, and it was a lot longer to make her get used to the situation, at least until there can be a resolution that can benefit all parties involved. She adapted quickly, as expected of her, considering how fast she can adapt to any kind of situation in the past. It's not that surprising. But as he's reminiscing, Kurama felt a certain disturbance in Naruto's emotion. As his curiosity got the better of him, he closed his eyes to connect with Naruto's consciousness in his physical body to see what it could be. And when he saw what's happening to the boy, he laughed. He laughed so hard, and without any effort to quell it down whatsoever. Seeing the Bija laughed, Kushina wondered what he could be laughing about. What's so funny, Kurama? It took a moment for the Bija to stop laughing. He turned to Kushina and said, ha ha ha. Hey, see for yourself, see what kind of predicament your boy is in right now, he said. His tone betrays the amusement and the enjoyment from what he had seen. Curious, Kushina closed her eyes to see through her son's eyes. Naruto opened his eyes slightly, expecting to see the wall that he had stared for half an hour before he was pulled into his psyche. But instead of a wall, his eyes were treated to something different. Because in front of his face is a pair of cleavage from none other than Shizuka, who had moved his position of facing the wall, and hugged his face in her cleavage when he was in his psyche. Thankfully, the position of his head allowed him to breathe freely, but he is unable to escape her grip, and he's afraid that if he moved too much, it will wake her up. Grumbling incoherently, Naruto concedes to the fact that there's nothing he could do, and it would be rather rude to force her to wake up. Might as well try to sleep like this, he thought, ignoring the heat on his cheeks as he closed his eyes, and tried to let himself sleep. As he starts to fall asleep, he could almost feel the fox's chuckle of amusement echoes in his psyche. But he could also feel another emotion, one of irritation and slight jealousy. Before he could discover what, or who exuded such emotions, and from where, sleep had already claimed him. Shizuka's eyes fluttered open as she's starting to wake up from her sleeping state. But as soon as she starts to get fully aware of her surroundings, she felt a weird thing on her. Looking downwards, she found that when she was asleep, she used Naruto as a body pillow, but it seems that he is sleeping rather contently. In response, she merely sighed. "This habit of mine will never cease, does it?" she asked rhetorically. She released her clutch on the blonde boy, but never taking her eyes off his sleeping face, which she finds adorable, particularly with his exotic whisker marks on his cheeks. In an act of simple curiosity, she lightly touched the whiskers, and the act prompted the boy to purr in response. Her cheeks reddened, and she immediately bit her lower lip as to prevent herself nuzzling the boy like a little puppy, but that didn't stop her from lightly touching the whiskers on his cheeks. Slowly, the boy's eyes opened, prompting her to pull her hands from his cheeks with such velocity. "MMH, is it already morning?" the boy groaned. "It is," Shizuka answered. Then the boy suddenly remembered his previous position before he fell asleep. In response, he asked, "Now I noticed that you clung on to me while I was asleep." Shizuka chuckled as she sheepishly scratched her head and said, "Yeah, it's a habit of mine. When we were little, Shinji was always in your position until he's 10. It seems that old habits die hard, huh?" she asked rhetorically. He laughed sheepishly as he blushed. Right, he said awkwardly before he got off the bed and changed his clothes to what he wore yesterday. "I'll go downstairs see if Shinji need help preparing breakfast," he said before he gets out. Shizuka merely chuckled. "He's quite an interesting boy." "Ah, Naruto, you woke up quite early." Shinji greeted Naruto with pleasant tone as he entered the kitchen where the black-haired young man is preparing the meals. "Yeah, I woke up early," he said hesitantly. In response, Shinji chuckled. "My sister didn't give you trouble, did she?" he asked with a mischievous undertone. Naruto stared at him with accusing eyes before he said, "You already know, didn't you?" The black-haired man kept his smile. "Know what?" he innocently asked. "About your sister's habit of using the nearest person in the same bed as a snuggle pillow." Shinji chuckled again. "Right, I forgot about that," he said as if he had no knowledge of what would happen to Naruto if he sleeps in the same bed with his sister. Naruto gritted his teeth in irritation, and the echoes of an amused chuckle from his tenant didn't help the matter at hand. "You should have told me beforehand, damn it." "Why? It's not like you have trouble sleeping while in that position, right?" "How did you know?" Shinji merely smiled, and Naruto is beginning to feel irritated at the man's rather mischievous and amused smile, as it shows that he perceives his flusters as a form of an entertainment. Naruto started, but then he sighed and said, "Never mind, no use in getting angry at what had already happened anyway." Shinji raised his eyebrows. "Ah, reason before emotion. I like you more and more, Naruto." "Thanks," he said awkwardly, but then he asked, "Is there anything I can do to help?" Shinji nodded and ordered him to help him to prepare the breakfast for the three of them. It was another quiet afternoon in Shirohane, just like it always is. Two people came out of the famed general store, both of them blonde, with the older being an adult woman and the other is a young man. Then they walked towards the green plains where Naruto had been training yesterday. As the well-organized path slowly disappeared as they goes farther and farther away from the settlement. Naruto, where are you taking me? Can't you just show me back at our house?" He turned back to the woman walking behind him and said, "My training spot for now, and I would rather do that there. I can't completely control it yet. I might destroy a wall or something in the process." With a smile. Shizuka becomes confused. "Training? Destroy a wall? What are you talking about?" "Just follow me, I'll show it shortly." Shizuka kept the questions plaguing her inside her mind as she followed Naruto. When they finally arrived, it was an ordinary clearing, but there are two things that stood out. One was the remnant from a cave that was previously there, but now it's merely a rubble due to what appears to be a cave-in. And the other was a tree, 17 feet tall in height, that was uprooted only recently, as evidenced by the hole from which it was uprooted. "Whoa, who the hell did this?" Shizuka asked. Naruto smiled with a sheepish expression. "The perpetrator would be me," he said. Shizuka turned her head slowly to Naruto, Her expression was one of "what the hell are you talking about" if one were to speak it out loud. Naruto sighed, "And that's what I'm here to show you, watch," he said to Shizuka as if ordering her. She listened, and watched as Naruto walked 10 feet away from the blonde woman and picked up a rock. It was a rock that he could cover with the size of his palm, and then, he threw the rock gently to Shizuka. "Throw the rock at me as hard as you can." "What?" "Trust me, I'll be fine." "Wait a second, are you crazy? This rock could make your head splatter if it hits you there. I don't want to be blamed if you got badly wounded. Just trust me, this is something that I want to show you anyway." Shizuka hesitated, but seeing his fearless expression, it was clear that he did think this through. "Fine, but don't blame me if you got hurt, okay? If you do, you brought that on yourself." "Fine," Naruto answered. Shizuka took a throwing stance, knowing her own strength. She's going to hurt him badly if she hit one spot on his body, so she decided to be a little lenient, something that won't hurt him pretty bad but would still make him regretting his weird order. With a slight whooshing sound, the rock flew towards Naruto. But yet he didn't attempt to stop it, he merely stared at it with a powerful, intimidating gaze. And much to Shizuka's surprise, the rock slowed down until it halted in midair right in front of Naruto's face, and his eyes never left the rock. How did you do that?" Shizuka asked with widened eyes. Naruto moved his hand and grabbed the rock, in return, releasing the control he has over it. "It's my ability, apparently. I can control any kind of movements without using my physical body but by creating, or manipulating kinetic energy that can do it for me. By merely thinking about it, I am able to control anything outside the range of my physical body without actually moving it using my hands. But there's a lot to it than that." Throwing the rock back to the ground, this time Naruto focuses himself on the tree that he had uprooted. He cocked his fist back, as if intending to punch it. But he was extremely out of range to even touch it. But then, he extended his fist in a punching motion towards the tree, and with a loud whooshing sound from the wind and the sound of something invisible that impacted itself upon the tree budged, moving farther away from Naruto, and in the process, it also made the tree lose some of its bark due to the sheer power of the kinetic energy that Naruto unleashed. Shizuka shielded her eyes during it all, as the attack expelled quite a lot amount of dust everywhere. And when she opened her eyes, she saw Naruto's unflinching form, as if he wasn't that affected by the dust around him. "That is another thing that came along with my ability, focusing enough energy in offensive and or aggressive movements from my body, I can create an explosion with a powerful magnitude. I think there's a lot that needs to be unlocked, but levitation and weaponizing the kinetic energy is the only things that I could do at the moment." Rendered speechless, Shizuka merely stared at Naruto as if he had grown a second head. "Hello? Why are you looking at me like that?" She walked closer to Naruto. Her face shows that she had calmed down, and then, she put her hands on his shoulders. "That was enlightening, to say the least. Thank you for trusting me enough to show me this." "No problem," Naruto said as he nods. "But anyway, as to why I came home looking like I was just an inch away from death, it's because I pushed my ability too far yesterday. I've adapted to it now, but back then, it was the repercussion of doing what you can't do yet. I guess it's like a month-old human baby immediately trying to run when he doesn't even know how to stand properly." "Blunt analogy," Shizuka remarked after she let go of Naruto's shoulders. He shrugged. "It was something that I thought of," he said before he frowned. "Wait. Well, it's an interesting power you have," Shizuka said, cutting Naruto off from his thoughts. "But you said that you pushed yourself too far. Does it get powerful every time you use it?" Naruto placed his hand on his chin. "I think so. My theory is that it's elastic. The more I use it, the limits of things that I can do with it becomes lesser and lesser. It may be a tree today, but it could be a mountain tomorrow." Shizuka grinned. "Pretty scary," she said, even though her expression didn't show any fear, merely visceral excitement. "Do you really think you can lift mountains next?" "Well, I could try, but I'll stick to push myself to get there for now," he said as he returned her grin. "Good choice. Learn to adeptly control your power first, otherwise it might get you, or other people hurt." "Exactly what I want to avoid," Naruto answered. "So that's that. Sorry for bringing you all the way here just for that though." She raised her eyebrows. "Just for that?" "Naruto, that was 10 minutes of my life well spent. Seeing someone capable of such things is a new experience, to say the least. So don't underestimate this gift that you have, use it well." He replied. "No need to tell me that." With his foxy smile, "There's no way I'm letting this go to waste." "Then I hope you'll put it to a good use," she responded, smiling as well. "But I am interested in seeing you train. Can you show me?" "Be happy to." Naruto accepted her request with a smile. A couple of hours later. That was pretty awesome, what you're capable of. It's really mind-boggling, Shizuka remarked. Naruto, in response, merely chuckled, tell me about it, even I still can't wrap my head around it just yet. It was quite late in the afternoon when Naruto decided to call the training off for the day. Shizuka had asked him to show her more of his abilities, and pushing him over the limit again. He trained himself in the destructive capability of his power. He figured out how to create massive kinetic blasts that could send people flying, and he trained it by using said ability to forcibly uproot multiple trees. 1.5 hours into the training, and it worked, except that it was only one tree, and only half of its roots were lifted by the sheer kinetic force, but it counts as something. Not to mention that he discovered something else. When he was practicing his kinetic blast, a sharp projectile from the bark of the tree scratched his cheeks. It was quite painful, but yet he didn't bleed. Intrigued, he tested his hypothesis by cutting a thick branch from a tree and turning one end of the branch to become as sharp as he can make it. Then he thrust it to his own hand. It all happened so fast in Shizuka's eyes, she wasn't able to stop him, but it turns out that she didn't have to. Because his hand was fine, and it was the wood that ended up being destroyed. It turns out that his whole body is covered with extremely thin yet strong kinetic barrier that protects his body like an invisible suit of armor. Truly, he never expected how versatile his power actually is. And right now, they are walking towards the familiar shop as they talk to each other about his so-called superpower practice. But as they got closer and closer to the shop, the blondes began to notice that there was a commotion on the center of town. Out of worry, they went there to check what's going on. And what they saw sickens them. A huge burly man, along with a group of bandits that seems to act as his bodyguards, is harassing the people around, and most of them is taking advantage of several women. Who the hell are these people? Naruto asked as he grits his teeth. Bandits. Shizuka answered, they're an annual guest to our village, due to the fact that we don't have any big village protecting us. But it looks like they knew, as the usual who came here should have learned by now that this behavior is unacceptable, she said as she walked menacingly towards them. And seeing the dark look in her eyes, Naruto has a feeling that it will end badly for them. Come on beautiful, come with us, we'll make sure you'll have some fun, drawled the burly man as he began to sexually harass the woman. In a defiant act, the woman slapped his hand away, prompting the man to get angry, you by dash. But, as he lifted his hand to slap the woman, his arm was grabbed. He turned around, and saw a blonde woman grabbing his arm and squeezing it so hard that everyone can hear the sound of his bones began to crack under the pressure. You know, the woman started, when a girl slapped your hand away, that's a sign that means she's repulsed by you. And that means you should leave, as fast as you can, and as quiet as you can. But if it were me, I won't just slap your filthy hands away, I would pummel you to oblivion, and then leave your carcass to be devoured by starving wolves. So in her place, she said as she lifted her free hand and clenched her hand to form a fist, I will do it for her. Wow! Was the only thing that Naruto can thought of as Shizuka punched the man's face to the point the sound of his skull cracking can be heard. Unsurprisingly, the other bandits became afraid, and when they are afraid, it made them attack her, like an animal instinct to stop cowering and attack directly when cornered, even though it may end up with them getting killed in the process. Naruto immediately moved towards her to provide some help. But it seems that she doesn't even need help, as when the first thug lifted his sword to attack her, she turned her body and slammed her foot towards the man's stomach. He reacted by expelling the contents of his stomach from his mouth. Then she used her elbow to destroy the set of teeth of her next attacker. Avoiding the slash of a sword from the right, she twisted her body and gave a steel-hard fist towards the thug's face. 3 down, 15 left to go. Urk! Grunted one of the bandits in pain as a knife was planted to his back. Ma, drawled Shinji as he pushed the bandit to the ground. I was going to intervene before you came along, not in a violent way though, but I have to admit, this seems more fun than what I have in mind, he said as he pulled the knife from the bandit's back, ignoring his scream of pain, and placed it in his left hand. Then, he pulled another knife from his pocket, and then he twirled it with his finger before he grasped it with his right hand. You bastard! Hearing the yell of one of the bandits attacking beside him, Shinji acted accordingly to the thug's attacks. Horizontal slash, duck. Stab abdomen with the knife in the left hand to create an opening needed for the next attack. While the bandit is still in pain due to the initial stab, pull the knife, move behind him, close his eyes, then slice his throat. 1 down. Shinji turned towards one of the bandits who charged with his spear. When the bandit thrust the spear, Shinji dodged it in a way that he also got close to the bandit. With the momentum from the dodge, he planted the knife to the bandit's throat and pulled it out in a matter of a second. 2 down. Raya! Looking behind him, he saw one bandit preparing a mean downward slash towards him with his sword. But due to the fact that the poor bandit yelled before his attack, his fate was already sealed, as Shinji used his knives to stab the side of his body, and then slash his throat. 3 down. 12 left to go. Naruto's eyes widened at the siblings' show of skills. It's clear that they are used to fighting, or killing, at that. And the way that they do it shows that they are used to it. Then he saw the siblings standing back to back as the rest of the bandits surround them. Damn it, you killed them, didn't you? How many times do I have to tell you, you can wound them, but keep them alive? Shizuka angrily reminded Shinji. I see it as an act of mercy, because I figured that if I let them live with crippling wound, they would have been killed or be abandoned by their higher-ups for becoming useless to them anyway, so why don't I just do that instead of leaving them at the mercy of people more sadistic than we are? Shinji countered. Damn it, fine. As long as you understand the weight of responsibility for killing someone, Shizuka said as she began to fight with one of the bandits. No need to tell me that, Shinji muttered as he resumes the fight. And Naruto saw as one by one the bandits were defeated, either incapacitated, or outright killed. One of the bandits saw all of this, yet he didn't interfere due to him being afraid of the two monsters mowing them down as if they were nothing. Then, in an act of cowardice, or merely survival instinct gone haywire, he ran. But unfortunately, he ran towards the blonde boy who decided that he needs to intervene. Gee, get the hell out of my way! The bandit yelled. But Naruto's not having any of that. He extended his palm forward, as if asking the bandit to stop, and the bandit stopped on his track. But he stopped not because Naruto told him to, he did that because Naruto extended his kinetic control that he has to the poor bandit. The bandit was bewildered, but Naruto didn't stop there. He slowly lifts his hand, and as if following the motion of his hand, the bandit found himself floating. What are you doing to me? Let me go. Naruto was silent for a few seconds before he answers, sure. Then he bent his arm backwards as if he's going to punch someone with his fist, before he thrust it forward, making the bandit fly with such velocity that he ended up crashing into a house and rendering him incapacitated. Suddenly, all the attention turned to him, and Naruto answered with, I stopped that guy from fleeing? He said awkwardly as he scratched the back of his neck. But the distraction was all that the rest of the remaining bandits needed to flee as the villagers watched as they run towards the hills, literally. And then, it was all over. All that's left of the bandits was the ones that were killed, and the ones who were incapacitated. Thankfully, the former was the lesser out of the two. Well, that was fun. Shinji mulled the previous scuffle, but still, what was that back there, kid? He asked Naruto. What? Come now, don't pretend like you don't know what I'm talking about. You threw that guy for 20 feet straight. How powerful are you to do such a thing to a man almost twice your size? Naruto smiled sheepishly. It's quite lucky that almost none of them saw what he did to the bandit because they were focused on the siblings' fight just enough. He answered. You're not telling me something, are you? But before Naruto could answer it, they were interrupted by Shizuka. Hey, take a look at this. Both of them walked closer and saw that Shizuka were inspecting one of the dead bandits, particularly the tattoo on the right side of his back. It was a tattoo, shaped like a side shot of a horse's head. Its eyes were lit aflame, and its mane seems to flow wildly. I think I recognized it from somewhere, and out of all of them he's the only one outfitted with this. Shinji, do you remember what this tattoo means? Shinji knelt down and looked towards the tattoo. A few seconds later, he chuckled mirthlessly. Era, now isn't this as interesting? What is it? Naruto asked. It's the mark of Sasou Yaju, War Beast, a legendary outlaw that seeks only battle. He was feared due to his action at the Third Shinobi World War. He defeated an army of Kumogaku no Sato's shinobi in a battlefield on his own just because he wants to find someone powerful. The rumor was that he was defeated by the Yondaime Hokage who interfered with his massacre. He disappeared afterwards and never to be seen again. But I doubt this person is him. He was fairly easy to kill. Then they heard one of the wounded bandits chuckled. He was one of Yaju's highest ranking man, and you killed him, heh? He's not gonna be happy about this, that's for damn sure. Shinji walked over to the wounded man, and said, what do you know about the beast? The bandit scoffed before saying, why should I tell you? Without warning, Shinji stabbed one of his combat knives to the ground. This in itself wouldn't make anyone afraid. It was the place where he stabbed it, which was the patch of dirt extremely near the bandit's crotch. But yet he still kept the same smile. Either you tell me, or I'll have to circumcise you the second time, and this time, I won't left any skin intact. The bandit whimpered, obviously terrified at the notion of having his privates being skinned, so he said, he's our leader. We call him Jaja-san as he always ordered us to, and the guy you just killed was one of his trusted men and he cares about us, so this won't go unnoticed. He will seek those who harm his subordinates. He was silent until Shinji lifted the knife right above the bandit's crotch. Is that all? He asked menacingly. That's all I know. Please, let me go. Shinji let the knife hang above the bandit's crotch before he said fine. Then he stood up. I'll let you go. The bandit let out a sigh of relief as Shinji walks away from him. When he went past Naruto, the blonde young man couldn't help but say, "You're sadistic, you know that?" he said with deadpan tone. In response, he merely shrugged, "I have my moments, but now, we know that what we did something bad. I heard, it seems that we attracted a monster if the war's beast reputation is true." Shizuka agreed, "I have heard about the beast among other bandits. He's like a being of legend to them, and if he's every bit as powerful as they say he is." Silence enveloped the three of them as they contemplate the danger that they have brought. "Then it's clear what needs to be done, right?" Naruto said. "Are you thinking what I think you are thinking?" Shinji said while smirking. In response, Naruto returned his sadistic smirk with his grin. "Let's go see this beast, and defeat him in combat." Shizuka sighed. "While that thought did cross my mind, I think we need to plan the whole thing out, find out his location, and then deal with him before he could do anything harmful." "Right," Naruto agreed, "but I think that we already have our source regarding where this guy's location." Shizuka raised her eyebrows in confusion. "What do you mean? Who?" "Well, we left some bandits to flee, right? I'm willing to bet that they were this man's underling," he said as he points towards the tattooed man, "and in turn, this guy is the beast's direct subordinate, and based by those hypotheses, I think that they're fleeing towards their base. If you follow their track, we should be able to find them." Shinji grinned. "Astute observation, Naruto, very well. Can you take care of things here for a moment with Nei-san? I think I got myself a base to find," he said as he ran towards the direction the bandits fled. "Hey, wait!" Shizuka yelled, but Shinji had already left. "Damn him!" she cursed out as she walked back to the gathered dead bandits. "Is it okay to just leave him like that?" "Yeah," Shizuka said dismissively as she sighed, "just let him be. He's strong enough to take care any weak bandits if they don't gang up on him. And he's smart enough to know there's no way that he could take down a whole bandit camp on his own, especially if this legendary outlaw is the one who leads it. He'll be back at night after scouting the camp and its layout. Don't worry about him, Naruto." Naruto was a bit worried, but if his sister trusts that he won't go too far, then he will too. "Alright," he relents. "What do we do with the dead bandits, though?" "What else? Bury them," she said nonchalantly, "and if you don't want to help, that's okay." This time with a slightly worried tone. That remark confused Naruto. "Why do you think I don't want to help?" It was silent for a few seconds before she said, "Aren't you a bit repulsed, seeing dead bodies?" she asked with worry. Naruto looked towards the corpses of the bandits. True, it was a bit gruesome. The wounds that sealed their demise was still fresh even though the blood has dried, and their faces was still locked in their last expression, which added the points for the general creepiness. But yet Naruto felt nothing, not even a tiny lurch in his stomach that would lead him to vomit. "Why is that?" But he chose to answer Shizuka first. "To be honest, no, it's not like I've seen a dead human before, but it seems redundant and pointless to feel repulsed by a corpse, however gruesome and smelly they might be." Shizuka blinked twice before she responded, "That's an unusual way to look at it, but if that's how you feel, who am I to talk, huh?" she said, a bit happy this time. "Anyway, if you're more than willing to help, I would like your assistance in burying these guys." Naruto nodded. "Sure," he responded with simplicity. The night has fallen as Naruto sat at the couch in the living room. Silence fills the room as he didn't utter a single word, not even a humming noise to signal he's bored or anything else, for he was deep in thought. Why didn't I feel repulsed by the sight of a dead person? A normal person my age would have expelled the contents of their stomach if they see something like that, he thought as he rubbed the side of his head, but then he remembered, there was a memory from Yandame's doppelganger that shows him killing another person in cold blood. But he could also feel a distinct emotion from that memory, or a lack of one. Deciding to find answer, he called one person who can give them. "Kurama, can you hear me?" Naruto called Kurama through their mental link. His reply was a bit late, but he got it after a few minutes. "Yes. I think there's something that we need to talk about. I'm going inside, okay?" Naruto said as he closed his eyes, ignoring Kurama's rather late and awkwardly short reply. What's the matter? Kurama asked Naruto when he materialized in front of him. Naruto hesitated for a few seconds before saying, I think the merging between me and Yandame's doppelganger are more than just sharing memories, it also changed my behavior and personality as well, despite what you said. Kurama raised his eyebrows or his equivalent of eyebrows. His expression shows that he's interested to hear more. What makes you say that? Today has been rather weird, no memories of him, but what I felt was alien thoughts, things that passed my mind that seems rather strange coming from myself, something that didn't feel right coming from myself. Kurama looked at Naruto for a few seconds before he touched his head lightly with his huge finger. Close your eyes for a sec, let me see what's wrong. Why do you need to touch my head for? We're already in my psyche, right? True, but this is the easiest and quickest way to see what's wrong, just close them already, Kurama said with irritated tone. Naruto does so, and it was a few minutes before Kurama told him to open them and said, it seems that you're right. I can feel the man's essence within you. It has integrated nicely to your psyche, so the subtle changes are to be expected, but you're quite observant to notice, Kurama said before he stiffened, although now that I think about it, he was also astutely observant in his days. Maybe the changes is far more rapid than we thought, he muttered out loud. So wait, are you suggesting that the doppelganger's integration caused observant trait from the Yandame seeps into my personality, and enables me to see something wrong with my own personality that is caused by the integration of the same doppelganger with the same trait from the seal that caused the changes in the first place? In essence, yes, his integrated traits allows you to see that there is something wrong with you that is caused by itself, he confirmed, and you being able to deduce that might be because of it as well. Naruto groaned, this is all so confusing. I mean, it's great and all that I'm improving a lot because of him, but I get these weird feelings because of him as well. I'm still Naruto, yet these things makes me feel as if I'm someone else. Someone different. Naruto crouched as he covered his face with his palms and begins to regulate his breathing. Okay, it's going to be okay. I'm still myself, just confused. That's all, he assures himself. The integration of his personality is bound to have some side effects after all. One of them is the initial identity confusion. It's bound to happen. In time it'll pass, and I'll still be Naruto, just not the Naruto I once was. He rationalized it with confidence and resolve. Naruto stood up as his face shows that he had calmed down from his initial panic state. You alright now, kid? A bit, yeah? Naruto answered, it's just that I realize that these changes will happen, nothing I can do to prevent it. The best I can do is make the best of it as I possibly can. Kurama smiled. Hey, you're a bit like him, you know that? He could always reason things like this in a matter of seconds, and I can see that the integration merely adds to it. It's always inside you. All the things that he was, it's always inside of you. Maybe the recent turn of events merely push it to the surface, though it happened so quickly you didn't have time to cope with it just yet. Naruto smiled as well. Yeah, maybe I just need a little more time. Not everyone can cope with any changes as fast as this. But thanks for talking to me, Kurama, really appreciate it. It's never a problem, Kurama answered, prompting Naruto to smile, and it was the widest smile that he had ever seen ever since both of them officially met. I'll be going now, but it would be nice to talk to you again sometime. Hey, I'm always a thought away. He joked a bit, making Naruto chuckle a bit, but before he left, Kurama gave a little tidbit. By the way, Kit, remember the other thing that you got from that scroll, the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu? Yeah, I do. Why? Next time you want to train your powers, let me tutor you about integrating Kage Bunshin into it. It will help, trust me. Naruto nodded after a few seconds and said, alright, thanks, he said before he disappeared from his psyche. You sure has a lot of ideas to make him stronger, Kushina, Kurama remarked as Kushina appeared beside him. Kushina merely smiled. Is that really surprising? He's my son after all. A mother had to look after their child, particularly teaching them how to become a man who can look for himself and everyone he held dear. Heh, and having your husband's essence would help accelerate his maturity as well, Kurama remarked, although I can't help but think that this is some kind of messed up. He's your son, and yet he will, or already has, your husband's memories and along with it, some, if not all of his traits. When did the boy Naruto cease to be and the new Naruto that was made from Minato's memories and personality begins? The last question made both of them silent. Opening his eyes, Naruto didn't expect to see a pair of brown-colored eyes draped with locks of long blonde hair, looking directly and closely at him. Gah! Caught by surprise, Naruto flinched and instinctively moved backwards. It was Shizuka who was looking at him with such close proximity. This time, she's not wearing her black coat and pants, she still wears her light blue shirt, along with black shorts that gratuitously shows her smooth thigh. Are you okay? I called you a few times, but you didn't respond and your eyes were closed. Were you sleeping? Shizuka asked. Yeah, I was just taking a shut-eye for a second, nothing to worry about. She looked at him quizzically before shrugging and said, well, are you hungry? To which Naruto nodded, what do you want to eat? But mind you, I'm not as good as a cook as my brother, so don't expect anything fancy. Do you have any ramen? Naruto asked quickly. Shizuka smiled. As a matter of fact, I do. It's only instant ramen cup, but I can get a little creative to make it a bit tastier. I'll make 2 for both of us, okay? She said as she goes to the kitchen to prepare the meal. Naruto mulled over what he had learned about the integration of Yandame's personality. I think that the questioning self-identity is only going to be a problem in the initial phase. As time goes on, the change will be so seamless that I won't even question it, but besides some new traits, I won't be so indistinguishable from the man. He sighed as he rubbed his head. Possessing an unheard power in ninja history crisis of identity, can my life get more interesting? Then, as if on cue, the sound of the back door being opened was heard. Naruto stood up and goes towards the door to see who it could be, even though he already knew it was Shinji. But when he arrived at the door, he was welcomed by the sight of Shinji bleeding profusely from many cuts spread across his whole body, along with having a hard time to even breathe. His black shirt is wet due to him being covered by sweat, and he couldn't even stand up straight as he leaned on the nearby wall for support. Hey Naruto, Shinji said tiredly before he collapsed. Luckily, Naruto prevented him from falling down completely as he managed to catch him using his power, but before he could notice, Naruto goes over to him and held him. Hey Shinji. What the hell happened? But he wasn't responsive. Clicking his tongue, Naruto lifted him up, using his telekinesis ability to partially lift him up and brought him to the living room and put him on the couch. Just in time, Shizuka came to the living room. On her hands are 2 ramen cups ready to be eaten. Alright. The ramen is ready to be served. She stopped when she saw the state her brother is in. Putting the ramen cups on the desk near the couch, she immediately goes to her brother's side. What happened? She asked Naruto. Trepidation filled every word that's spoken. The blonde young man shook his head. I don't know. I heard the back door being opened and goes to look, and I found him. He collapsed directly after he arrived. Gritting her teeth in anger at seeing her brother in such a state, Naruto saw a glimpse of murderous glint in her eyes, and she clenched her fist so hard it turned white, but she calmed down considerably after Shinji woke up and placed his hand on top of her own. Calm down, Nachan, I'm fine, he assures her through his ragged breathing. Thank Kami, Shizuka said breathlessly. What happened, Shinji? I got caught while I was surveying the layout of the camp, even though I was quite far from the camp itself and perched on a tall tree for me to be seen, he started. But then, he showed himself Sensou Yaju. What does he look like? Naruto asked. Huge, abnormally so, and he easily towers the rest of them. I saw him overseeing the bandits that had escaped from us. From the looks of it, he let them go without any repercussion, but then he looked at my direction and threw a spear. It missed me by a fraction, and pierced the tree instead, but it alerted the rest. I tried to escape, but was found quite a few times and had to fight multiple numbers of enemies. They made me exhausted, and that was why I got injured. He saw you? And you're sure you weren't supposed to be? Shizuka asked, knowing his brother's skill and stealth approach as something to be admired. Shinji chuckled mirthlessly, and it was made all the more sinister with the dried blood on his lips. Nope, I was in a position where no matter how hard you squint your eyes, it's impossible to see me. He's a monster, that one. The tone makes Naruto stifle a chuckle threatening to come out of his mouth. Shinji's tone wasn't a tone of a defeated man, it was a tone of amusement, hell, even excitement. He wants to fight that monster, isn't he? He thought. He is. He's an interesting man, not to mention her sister, you know. Her strength can be equal to the Tsunade woman from your village. I wonder if they're related in some way, Kurama said through their link. The similarities are present, but there's no way. Tsunade was never married to anyone. I suspect a couple of one-night stands, but she must have prepared a countermeasure to prevent pregnancy. She's a medic ninja after all. Oh? And how do you know these things? As I recall, you're always lazy at studying shinobi history, not to mention you speak about her as if you know about her. Naruto's eyes widened a fraction before he calmed down. Even though I was lazy, that doesn't mean that I didn't pay attention to some of the stuff they say, particularly about famous shinobi from our own village. As for the familiar tone of speech that I used to comment on her, though, I don't know where that came from. I'm guessing it's an impulse of some sort, from the doppelganger's essence, I mean. True still, it looks like there's always a part of you that dominates Yandame's own. Otherwise, I wouldn't be me, right? Naruto replied back. Naruto felt a trickle of amusement and relief from the fox, prompting him to ask, "What's going on?" But he got no answer out of him. As he looks toward the older of the Sakihara siblings treating her younger brother, Naruto asked if she could any help, to which she asked Naruto to get the first aid kit from the basement, which he did. But all the while, his mind stayed at the thought of the war beast. It must be due to the memory imprint of the Yondaime. It was rumored that he was the one who defeated him when both of them met, and if it were true, it's unlikely that the blonde Hokage would forget his enemies, even if the memories were from his body double. It was made apparent that this beast is quite powerful in a physical sense, capable of seeing to a great distance, and the strength of a monster to be capable of doing what Shinji had witnessed. And he could feel a weird premonition regarding him and the war beast in the near future. Even though he's not someone who believes in such things as bad feelings or deadly premonitions, he thought that, if it can, and will happen, and he has the power to stop whatever he's going to do, then I'll do whatever's necessary to stop him. Alright, what am I supposed to do here? Naruto asked Kurama. It was very, very early in the morning when Naruto decided to abandon sleep, and instead, opting to go to train. He is currently standing in the middle of the large clearing that he already identified as his training ground to see what's the new training method Kurama has that involves the jutsu that he got from the scroll. Create a clone first. Naruto made a hand seal with his index fingers and middle fingers on his both hands being crossed, and with a poof of smoke, his clone manifested. Yo! The clone said as he lifts his hand. Yeah, hey. Naruto said nonchalantly. Alright, done that, what now? He mentally said. Now order your clone to go somewhere far away where you can't see him, and once he's there, order him to do something unpredictable. Naruto was confused about his instruction, but he complied nonetheless. Go somewhere out of sight, and then do something weird, or whatever, just don't tell me what you're going to do and then dispel yourself. The clone's expression shows that he is confused as well, but nevertheless he did as he was told. A couple of minutes passed, and as Naruto waited for his next instruction, he got hit by a wave of memory about his clone destroying a huge termite's nest using his fists. I see. Naruto thought, everything that my clone did right before the point he's dismissed will be shared with me when he's dispelled. He correctly deduced. Correct. Kurama confirmed, now picture that, but replace the memories of him destroying the termite's nest with the memories of him training his abilities. Naruto's expression remained unchanged for a few seconds, before he slowly formed a grin. Months of required training compressed into mere hours or days, very handy. He internally said, and not to mention if there are multiple of psychokinesis users of my level, who knows what we would accomplish. The former is true, however the latter isn't quite right. Naruto raised his eyebrows. How so? Even though the clones are somewhat perfect copies of you, that doesn't mean that all of them is as powerful as you in a sense of being on the same level as you are in terms of power. Remember, even though they are more real than a normal Bunshin, they are still a Bunshin. You can only use them for physical support and training, Kurama said. Though that being said, if you really want to tire yourself out, you can use 2 or more backups to provide more power support in combat situation. Naruto scoffed. I got that, thanks, but this is me we're talking about. I don't even mind training to the brink of death as long as it means I can get stronger, he confidently stated. Inside of his mind, Naruto can hear Kurama chuckling. That's what I like to hear, kid, he said. Now, let's get to the next part of training, shall we? Right, let's do this, Naruto said. Now I want you to surprise me, Kurama ordered, which confused Naruto a little bit, but he elaborates, use your whole chakra and summon as many clones as you can. Naruto immediately understood. How many are we talking about here? The boy with the whiskers said with a grin. As I said, kid, surprise me. Naruto's grin widened. He made the hand seal and said Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he said with a determined tone. Boom! Instead of a little poofing sound it usually made when summoning a clone, it was akin to a small explosion this time, and the moment the huge smoke dissipated, there were hundreds of clones of Naruto. And Naruto didn't even look tired, but his breathing does get a little heavier. Well, how's that? He asked Kurama. Meh, could be better, but not disappointing either. Either way, it hardly surprises me. Naruto had somewhat expected that, but that didn't stop him from asking, well, who could do it better than me then? Admittedly, not a lot, Kurama said, which somewhat boosted Naruto's ego, but the list of those who can does include your idol, Yondaime Hokage. In response to that, Naruto merely smiled. Him, huh? He thought as he chuckled, haha, should have known. Right, there's always someone stronger, kid, Remember that. Humph, I'll keep that in mind. Naruto said, so what do you need me to do with these 120 clones? Naruto was met with silence for a few seconds before he got a reply, to which Naruto's expression turned to confusion for a few moments. But then, he opened his eyes and decided to relay the order onto his clones. Alright, hear me out. He called to the clones. All 120 of you, make a set of lines. The formation is 50-30-25-15. Within a minute, the line has assembled. 50 of you will be with me to train in normal levitation to quickly master the basics. The next 30 of you train in offensive capabilities, like the kinetic shockwave. But be creative. If you can thought of something else, try to see if it works. Naruto ordered, to which they nodded. The next 40 is separated to groups of 25 and 15. The 25 will work on something called hydrokinetic. Find a large source of water nearby and try to move the water with your mind instead of corporeal objects like rocks and such. Ignoring the confused looks, Naruto continued, the next 15 is the same, but use your power to make the wind move instead. But how are we supposed to do that if you haven't done it yet? One of the clones from the aerokinetic group of 15 clones asked. Look, Kurama told me that the basic principle is the same. Focus your mind on something that you want to move. If it's water, focus on the water. If it's wind, try to focus on the surrounding air or try to push it forward like you would push a boulder. It's the same. It will be harder, but the principle is the same. Okay? Naruto said. All the other Narutos looked skeptical, but they nodded. At the very least they will do what their master said. Okay, we'll train until the sun rises, which is approximately 5 hours from now. The team of water and wind control. Find someplace else to train, but don't get too far away. The aforementioned team nodded and leaped to find a good spot to do what they're told. The offensive team, find someplace else to train as well. An open field is preferable. With that order, they too went to find someplace else to train. The rest of you, with me, let's focus and train to levitate ourselves, and from there we'll learn how to fly. Naruto ordered with a grin. And that grin was mirrored by his clones as they yelled hell yeah. Naruto looked upon the 50 clones of himself closing their eyes and starts to levitate, smiling as he does so, and thought, this is going to be so damn exhausting, but the result will be worth it. 6 hours later. Shinji woke up as per his usual schedule of the day despite his physical injuries, due to his habit on managing the menial works in the house. Wincing when he accidentally strained his wounds, he realized that he should be resting, but then again, he could still move if he's just careful, so he decided to press on. On the way to the kitchen, he heard a muttered cursing, and the smell of something rather unpleasant. And when he arrived, he saw his sister trying to make some breakfast in his place. But he knows how bad she is at cooking, so the smell must have been something that she failed to make. Sighing to himself, he greeted her, "Nei-chan." It caught her by surprise as it made her jump. She turned around and said, "As Shinji, what are you doing up so early?" Force of habit. He simply answered, "What are you doing in the kitchen?" "What else? I'm cooking." Shinji sniffed and looked towards the cooking apparatus she's using. "Cooking what exactly? Half rice, half soup thingy?" he said about the obviously failed attempt to make a porridge. In response to the sarcastic comment, Shinji got a bump in the head courtesy of his sister. "Shut up, just be glad that I'm cooking for you." Sighing again, he merely said, all right, I'll eat your cooking." After 15 minutes of eating Shizuka's horrendous cooking without any complaints whatsoever despite him taking it all down to his stomach, Shinji helped his sister to clean the plates. "By the way, where is Naruto? He's not going to do himself good sleeping all day long." "Oh, he already woke up." "Oh? Where is he then?" Shizuka asked. "Outside," he nonchalantly replied. Shizuka turned to Shinji, surprised by what he said. "What? When did he leave?" "I think it was early in the morning. I woke up because of the sound of footsteps he made when he went to the door. I'm surprised you didn't know that." Shizuka gritted her teeth. She's annoyed at how he seems to do things without any kind of supervisor. At the very least he could just tell them where he's going. But before she could do anything about it, the door towards the living room was opened. And along came Naruto, who was breathing rather raggedly, not unlike the way he arrived at their house after his first session of training. "Hello morning," he muttered out as he slumped into one of the chairs. Shizuka sighed. Seeing him severely pushing himself to his limit makes her unable to get angry, but worried. "Where have you been?" "Training, exhausted. A drink, some food would be swell," Naruto said. Shinji merely chuckled. "Alright, I'll go make something worthwhile to eat," he said before leaving to the kitchen. At least he doesn't have to eat Shizuka's cooking. Shizuka goes to bring a glass for Naruto to drink water from, and after pouring the water, he gave it to Naruto, who drank it all like he hadn't drank in months. After he finished gulping the last drop, he sighed out of contentment. Gah. That's the stuff. Shizuka smiled faintly. You're just like an old man who had drank a cup of sake. Naruto smiled. Combined with his tired visage, it made him look cool, if just a tad. I'll take that as a praise, he replied. In case you're going to ask, I couldn't sleep, so I decided to train. I planned to go back precisely at 5 o'clock, but it took me longer to withstand the strain. How much did you push yourself? Naruto's smile merely turned melancholic, to the point where a normal man could die. Shizuka's eyes widened, her lips quivered, and she clenched her fist. She knows from his tone that he meant everything he just said, yet she could hold herself from punching the boy. But he seems to notice how she's holding herself back, so he said, if you want to, do it. He said with a serious tone, I deserve it anyway, and it would make you feel better about it. She was silent, but then she said, no, I won't hit you, it won't make me feel better anyway, if anything it would make it worse. Then she proceeds to sit beside Naruto, and squeezed his shoulder. But don't do anything like that again, especially without anyone to watch over you again, okay? Even though she squeezed his shoulders quite hard, her tone of voice shows how worried she is. Alright. Naruto reluctantly said, even though he was supervised by Kurama, he's not going to say that to her, not yet perhaps. To put it bluntly, the idea of saying that a fox-shaped being made of chakra watches over him at any given time is not something that he likes to say. Then, Shinji came with a bowl of rice porridge with many varieties of toppings, such as sliced chicken meat and mushrooms. Eat, you'll need it. Naruto took the bowl and the spoon that Shinji also brought. Itadakimasu, he said before eating. 5 minutes later, while he's in the middle of his meal, Shinji asked Naruto, out of curiosity, what did you do out there? You looked like you just passed a war zone. Naruto stopped eating for a few seconds to reply, training, before resuming his previous activity of sending the food to his stomach. Training? Shinji incredulously asked. What kind of training that pushed you that far? Shinji waits a few seconds as Naruto finished his meal, then he looked at Shinji with a mischievous smile on his face. Naruto focused his eyes towards Shinji, and a mere second later, he found himself floating. Yeah? Wait a while, how? Shinji muttered in bewilderment as his body twirls around as if something is holding him afloat. Shizuka giggled, already knowing the extent of Naruto's power. Then, Naruto answered, this is what I've been training on. Remember that bandit that I threw to a wall? This is how I did it. He explained as he put Shinji down and released his hold. I couldn't sleep for some reason and I decided to train. It made me tired, but it sure as hell helped me getting stronger. How powerful are you? Shinji asked, the previous euphoria of floating in the air without any visible support still dominating his mind. Just enough for now, for the future, perhaps more, he replied back. Maybe when you guys are free, I'll show you something that I learned during my night out. Would you like that? Shinji nodded. Yes, sure, we would like that, he replied as normally as he could. But not tonight, I think we still got a lot of days ahead of us. Naruto smiled before he stood up. Alright, now, what should we do next? The first task that was given to him by Shinji was to bring a couple of crates that contained foods and stuff like those to several houses in the neighborhood. That went pretty well, and by delivering the goods to the people in Shirohane, Naruto becomes rather familiar with the other people around. After that's over, Naruto was ordered to clean the place, again, not that hard either, considering that he mostly used his powers to get the job done as quickly as he could. And when it was somewhat late in the afternoon and the store was closed, Naruto went towards the nearest river from the settlement, which is 1¼ mile away. He would have brought Shinji and Shizuka with him, but the former was kind of busy with his business, and the latter said that she had left to search for something. She didn't tell them what, but she was rather serious about it. The hydrokinesis team had found the place when Naruto ordered them to train. It was a big river, yet it was somewhat shallow as its depth can only reach right below Naruto's knee, and there are only several fishes swimming around, and most of them are small. Naruto merely grinned before he crouched down to see the movement of the fishes, who doesn't even recognize his presence. He eyed a particular type of fish that caught his attention, a medium-sized catfish. He looked at it for a few seconds before extending his hand, as if wanting to catch it. And as if following Naruto's command, the space of water around the catfish begins to separate itself from the stream. The boy with the whisker marks lifts his hand, and the bubble of water controlled by him moved accordingly, and it brought along the catfish, which is struggling to get out of the floating bubble. He then motioned the bubble towards him, and stopped it right in front of his chest as his hands were on both sides of the bubble. "This is awesome," Naruto remarked. The training from before had pushed him more than he ever thought possible, but the strain from taking the memories of 120 clones that morning rendered him unconscious for nearly an hour, and even after he woke up, he experienced a massive headache, not unlike a massive hangover. And how does he, a young 12-year-old boy, knows what a hangover feels like? Blame that on Yandame's wild memories. And now is the first time he's using his achieved hydrokinesis, and not to mention that 25 clones working on hydrokinesis for 5 hours can be equal to 125 hours worth of training, so it can be said that he is getting the hang of it. But still, the fact that the clones were rather intuitive, assertive, and not to mention creative in using the power was rather unexpected for Naruto. "Kurama, is now the good time to ask about that?" Naruto asked. He had asked Kurama about the self-reliance ability of the clones, but he said that he doesn't want to add even more pain to his head. "Yeah, and now is a good time as any," Kurama answered. "The shadow clones are more powerful and self-reliant due to the amount of chakra being used to fuel it. On a rare case, the clone might disobey the order given, but it is not immune from being dispelled." For a moment there was a pause, but in your case, it might have to do with the changed chakra circulation that you possess. Changed? I bet it has something to do with that crystal. Correct. In addition of giving you the ability to manipulate things with just your mind, the crystal also changed the way chakra circulates your body. Before this, your body contained several chakra coils connected with several branches mimicking the way of how blood is circulated. But now, well, let's just say that in that aspect, you are more like me than a human. As a mass of ever-moving energy contained in a vessel? That's how my chakra is being circulated now? Naruto asked. More or less, the energy within you is not contained within any circulation system of any kind, but it flows freely within your body and it can be extended beyond your physical range, hence, the psychokinesis ability. It took Naruto several seconds before a grin was plastered on his face, a rather devilish grin, some would say, interesting. It might be more interesting for you to know that that is how the energy was contained within the crystal. The moment you touched it, it changed you due to physical interaction that caused its energy to be transferred into you, and in turn, making you capable of doing these things. Kurama added, but as to how it would change the way your clones behave, it may be possible that the energy also gave them the ability to become more creative in doing things, but it's more likely that it's because of your change in personality. Now that caught Naruto's attention. Why do you say that? The clones copied the original's personality as well as his mindset, remember? And combined with your outside-the-box way of thinking, your increased intelligence, and your drive to be better, it's no wonder they're rather creative in their training. Naruto hummed in contemplation. Makes sense, but why do I have a feeling that you already knew that? You did, didn't you? He could literally feel the fox grinning. Well, I'll let you decide on that, he cryptically replied with an amused tone. And did you master flight yet? Naruto merely scoffed and returned the bubble to the river. Then, he puts his hands on the pockets of his jeans and without even a gesture or concentrating too hard, he floated off the ground, and the radius of his energy that lets him float also made several pebbles and dust from the ground he was standing on goes with him. The liftoff is a piece of cake now. The flight itself will take some more training to get fast enough for quick transportation method, but I'm getting there, Naruto said. Thanks to there's no tomorrow method of training, of course, but seriously, you got to have to relax a little, your body can only take so much strain. Naruto smiled sheepishly and said, yeah, maybe, that memory feedback from the clones was excruciating. He said as he rubbed his forehead, the remnant of the pain still lingers in his head. If he wants to do that again, he has to do it one by one. The accumulation of experience from his clones would be too much for him to bear if he dispelled them all at once. Still using his power to suspend himself, he tilted his head upward as he pushed himself further upwards, and when he got higher than the surrounding trees, he took his time to appreciate his surroundings. Seeing things from different perspective really brings out its other beauty, he said blissfully as he looked towards the green field made of tall trees that surrounds the river. He turned his body around in midair and propelled himself eastward. The velocity of his flight is rather slow, the maximum velocity is perhaps no more than 10 miles per hour, something that he has to rectify by more training. But for now at least he would rather enjoy with what he have. And perhaps try to get himself over his current limit in the process. Grinning at the thought of pushing himself forward, he increased the velocity of his speed as he turned upwards. The feel of the wind brought another feeling of pure euphoria within his very soul, an unmatched euphoria that no normal man could ever feel, the feeling of being truly free and unbound by the force of gravity, the happiness and the thrill of experiencing something that no one else could ever feel. the feeling of flying without wings. He let himself smile as he closed his eyes and let the feeling course through his body. I don't think even birds could feel this much freedom, the whiskered blonde boy thought. Feeling that he got high enough, he stopped and looked at his surroundings again, but this time, he looked beneath him. He could see everything, the settlement like a miniature in a diorama. It's so small, and it's as if he could reach and grasp it with his hand. The forest that surrounds it is nothing more than a green-colored field from his perspective, and the river is nothing more than a small trails of water from where he's seeing it. This power's not bad at all, Naruto thought before taking off again into the peak of the sky. In the process, he goes faster and faster, determined to overcome his current limits. 7 miles per hour. 9 miles per hour. 10 miles per hour. Naruto grinned. Why don't we go faster at Kurama? In response, the giant fox merely grinned in excitement, something that could be felt by Naruto due to their bond. Go ahead, kid. There's nothing without risk. That isn't worth doing. Naruto completed the sentence and grinned as well. 11 miles per hour. 13 miles per hour. 16 miles per hour. Naruto's beastly grin widened as he goes faster and faster, and then, he said, let's go. To the sky. Naruto yelled at the top of his lungs as he keeps on flying to reach the top of the sky. Coming home to her house, Shizuka was greeted with the sight of Shinji looking up to the sky as if he's a child who is fixating his vision on something that is flying in the sky. She walked towards him and said, what are you doing staring at the sky like that? Shinji turned to his sister for a moment before turning his gaze towards the sky. Naruto told me to. Then he went silent, as if what he said before made sense. Would you elaborate on that? Shizuka inquired. Shizuka's brother merely shrugged and said, I asked Naruto when he will be coming home, and he told me that it would be somewhat late in the afternoon, perhaps at 30 minutes past 6, but he also told me to watch for the skies. He explained. Normally, I would have asked him why, but I like to be surprised, particularly from him. Shizuka shook her head. It is quite late in the afternoon, 6:27 p.m., which is close to Naruto's appointed time, and seeing his power firsthand, it's natural and not unexpected that Shinji would be curious as to why he would said that. Then, the unquestioned thing within her head was answered as the sound of the whistling wind caught her attention. She looked up and saw a figure, unlike a bird, or something else that can soar in the sky, whether of natural or mythological origin, coming down towards them. But before it got awfully close to both of them, it slowed down. And when they can see what it was, it turns out to be the figure of none other than Uzumaki Naruto, who is descending towards the ground in a slower, more composed fashion than before. His face is plastered with a smile so bright it could be compared to a sun, a smile that can only come from an experience like nothing else. At least, nothing ordinary that anyone could do. As he touched the ground, he turned to Shinji and said, that's why. Without losing his smile. Then he left the two-person who are speechless by the show of ability from the blonde-haired boy and goes inside the house with a satisfied smile plastered on his face. Shinji, the ever-cool guy that he is the first one to break out of his reverie when the boy with the whisker marks entered the house, he said. And that's why I like the kid, the kinds of surprises that he can come up with. It's insane, I tell you that. The next day, 1:35 a.m. Naruto is perplexed. After explaining how he can now fly with ease along with how he is more adept at using his power, and then helping the Sakahara siblings with their house chores yesterday, Naruto had gone to sleep at 10 o'clock. It was all good and normal, but then, he woke up at 00:00 a.m. in the dead of night without any headache or tiredness that should accompany waking up after sleeping for only 2 hours. In fact, it felt rather normal. It's as if he had been sleeping peacefully for 10 hours straight. After 20 minutes of trying to get himself to sleep and failed, he decided to come down to the living room and eat something. He was quite hungry. Preparing the instant ramen and finishing the meal along with the cold milk that he took from the fridge took him 30 minutes, as he was not gulping the food and the drink like a rabid animal. 10 minutes of waiting to get sleepy proved to be fruitless, as he doesn't get sleepy at all. The next 25 minutes was spent on jogging around the village, and subsequently, the forest nearby, as he tried to get himself as tired as possible to sleep. But it didn't work, so he did the next best thing. He ran to the nearby river and summoned 30 clones, then he ordered them to train, 10 in aerokinesis that he's still somewhat struggling to get a hold of, 10 in hydrokinesis to make his mastery of the water manipulation more perfect, and the next 10 is separated into 5 pair of twos. With one of the pair attack the other with the offensive capabilities of the power, and the other use the defensive capabilities to protect themselves from the attacks. It has been gone for 10 minutes, but all the while, as he uses his small control of the wind to make a single leaf afloat, a technique that his previous clones used, he kept thinking about why he's not sleepy and tired after just 2 hours of sleeping. It could be the sign that I'm getting old, but that is unlikely since I'm just 12, Naruto speculated. The more likely possibility, however, is that with the crystal changing how my body works, it also changes the hours of sleep that my body needs. I'm not that prone to fatigue as much as when I'm a normal human, and I recuperate rather quickly without any external aid whatsoever. Perhaps it changed the way my body rests. Shortened the time needed for me to sleep because of the swirling energy within. He turned his attention to one of the clones who was having some trouble controlling the wind with the method of lifting leaves with the wind. Then, one of the clones said to the one having some trouble, "Hey, you're not doing it right. You're supposed to move the wind beneath the leaf and then maintain its movement so that it stays afloat. It's the basic technique." The clone turned to the one who advised him, but instead of doing what he was told, he replied, "That's precisely what I'm not doing. I'm trying something else." Now this caught the real Naruto's attention. He turned towards the clone and asked, "Tell me, what exactly are you doing?" The clone seems to hesitate for a second, but then he said, "Well, I figured that making the leaf stays afloat using the wind is rather basic, so what I'm trying to do is to slash it to shreds using the force of the wind." That explained why you're using too much force than needed to make it floats. The real Naruto said, "But that doesn't explain why you just get to the point and try to shred it." The clone grinned. "See, I don't just aim to shred it with force, I'm trying to be as efficient as I can. I'm aiming to command enough gale force to rip it to pieces in one go, but so far, it's not working." Naruto thought about what his clone's trying to do. It seems that the method the clone was trying to use is somewhat more feasible, so he tried it as well. But he couldn't summon enough force from the wind to tear the leaf apart, let alone shred it to bits. Sighing to himself, he summoned another 10 clones and said, "Do whatever that one told you to, no questions, alright?" he said as he points towards the clone who pursued another method to train. "Wait a minute, boss, are you sure?" the said clone asked. In turn, Naruto shrugged, "You're the one who came up with it, you teach them. And after you taught them the method, return to what the other 9 were doing, no excuses," he simply replied. The clone, having no rebuttals to what the boss said, sighed and turned towards the 10 new clones. Naruto, still doesn't want to let the full training be handled just by his clones, turned towards the leaf and concentrating on how to shred the leaf. But still, he does so without abandoning the next thing that comes from his previous thought: if his body had been changed by the crystal, when will the change stop? Kurama heard his thoughts, and said, "Don't let yourself think about that too much, I'll look into it a bit more, so just stop having these depressing thoughts. It's not just affecting you, it gets to me as well, and it's not that pleasant." Naruto sighed, right, burdening myself with thinking that all the time is not good either. I'll wait till you find something. In the meantime I'm going to train, seeing that I can't sleep," he relayed to Kurama. He heard a sigh of resignation from Kurama. "Always pushing yourself, some advice here, kid. Try to rest and enjoy something else for once. Tranquility isn't as bad as you may think." The giant fox replied back before he receded into the back of Naruto's psyche, no doubt already investigating what Naruto's worrying about. A small breath escaped his lips as he continues onward with his training. He had to admit some tranquility might do him good. The question is, will his mind let him? Well, as Kurama said, it's better to not think about things outside his control too much. Naruto walked back to Shirohane after 4 hours of training. In the end, he dismissed them all 10 by 10, as 10 clones at once is the limit of the mental strain that he could take without passing out. Though that doesn't diminish the need for an aspirin afterwards. But he could take it, it's just a mere annoyance that will disappear in time. Nothing can be gained without some kind of consequence after all. He rubbed his head to at least neutralize the pain, even if it's just for a little bit, as he walks towards the small settlement of Shirohane. Arriving at Vigilance looking no worse for wear, he stepped inside just in time as Shinji is preparing another breakfast for them. Even though it is obvious from how he entered the store from the front door that he escaped his bed at night again, Shinji merely smirked as he said, "Relax, Shizune's asleep." Naruto let out a sigh of relief. As much as he likes the blonde-haired woman, he really doesn't want to be pandered again. "Lucky," Naruto said. The process of eating the served breakfast was quick due to its simplicity. Precisely 1 hour later, Shizuka woke up and began to eat the rice and miso soup. After finishing the meal, he turned to Shinji and said, "Shinji, I want you to come with me for the next raid." Raising his eyebrows, the younger sibling returned her order from before by saying, "That's weird, you never asked for my help before, why the sudden change?" She took a huge gulp of water from her glass before saying, "Yesterday, I found another one of War Beast's camp." His attention was caught. He leaned over and asked, "Where did you find it? How did you know it was his?" "Northeast, 7.5 miles from here, and it was marked with his emblem. It was rather obvious," she answered. "How about the outpost that I saw before? The one with the war beast?" Shinji asked. "It was abandoned," Shizuka answered curtly. "I went there first to check, and I found out that they had already left, along with their loots, and when I backtracked, I saw some trails that led me to this camp." Naruto could see a bit of disappointment in Shinji's expression, but then he continues, "Well, alright, it's fortification. A small outpost, containing perhaps no more than 40 bandits. I heard some of them said that they just looted some trade caravans heading to Konoha." The word made Naruto's ear twitched. But neither siblings noticed it. Along with some prisoners, some of them are young females. Shinji's expression turned from its usual careless expression to one filled with anger. He icily said, "When?" 2 o'clock in the afternoon at best. "Go ahead if you want to prepare yourself, Shinji," Shizuka said. To response, Shinji immediately left, presumably to prepare himself for the raid. Seeing the conversation firsthand, however, Naruto asked Shizuka, "What was that all about?" prompting her to turn her head to him. "I know that it's the War Beast camp, so you want to take precautions, but I'm assuming that he have some grudges that needs to be taken care of." Shizuka sighed after a second of pause, then she said, "He's a chivalrous person. He hates the idea of someone taking away someone else's belongings without their consent, and more than that, he loathes someone that take, or in other words, kidnap a person against their own will. One of the main reasons he hates bandits," she explained, "due to the fact that most bandits live by leeching other people's hard work, whether it's stealing someone else's treasure or forcing someone to be their things for them to use." Naruto frowned. "Never liked those kinds of stuff either. I guess I can see where he's coming from," he remarked, "and not wanting to make you angry or anything, but would you mind if I tag along?" She raised her eyebrows and asked him, "Why would you want to come?" The boy with the whisker marks shrugged. "Just thought that it would be interesting." "What? I can't?" Shizuka sighed. "No, you can't, not that we're afraid of you getting hurt, but somebody got to stay here and maintain the store while we're gone, and that only leaves you. So, you'll be staying." Naruto shrugged. "Well, can't win everything, I guess," he said in mock despondency, and Shizuka can tell that he's not that bummed out from not being included. How right she was, as Naruto didn't mind having to stay or to come with them to the raid. He just wants to alleviate his boredom, and either way, he could do something interesting, raiding a bandit camp or not. Unclothing himself from the black shirt that hasn't been changed for 2 days straight, Naruto goes over to the bathroom to take a bath, but not before he said, "I'm going to take a bath, okay? Been training for too much that the smell of sweat starts coming out of the shirt." And due to the fact that he said it without looking at the blonde-haired older woman, he didn't see the look he got from her, as despite being a 12-year-old, his body looked so lithe, his rather well-built physique that looks like an avid, professional swimmer easily snared her eyes and prompted her to stare at the young boy rather hungrily. Like a lioness that saw an enticing prey in the savannah and wanted nothing more to pounce and devour it. Shaking her head furiously to get her mind out of the gutter, she said to Naruto, "Yes, sure, go ahead, Naruto." Though she tried to be calm and cool when she said that old familiar feeling that comes from seeing such favorable subject made her stutter a little, which she silently cursed herself for. Luckily, Naruto didn't notice as he merely nodded and goes to the bathroom, leaving the woman sighing at her own unwanted desire that had spruced up due to the young boy living on the same roof with her. Reminded of the times when Shinji used to call her a Shotokan due to her admitting that he likes men who are younger than her, she lightly punched her head to get her mind straightened out. It was somewhat late in the afternoon when Naruto was left all alone to stay in the store. Shinji and Shizuka had left much earlier to go to the War Beast camp, hell-bent on rescuing the prisoners the bandits have taken. When they left, Naruto had taken care of everything for the day. It was somewhat tiring, but there's nothing that can beat having 10 clones sharing the workload with you. After making sure that he had done everything, Naruto closed the shop rather late than its usual time, just to be absolutely certain that no one else is going to come inside to do some transaction anymore. Currently, he is lying back on the roof of the store/house, wearing a simple short-sleeved blue shirt with a white-colored star symbol on the chest and black jeans while he lazily looks into the sky, not unlike the usual attitude of a certain friend of his, finding that lying down on the sofa inside the house and staring at the ceiling is jarringly boring. He sighed rather contentedly while seeing the stars. Look at that, it's an untouched frontier, bereft of human interference whatsoever, he mulled. What could possibly be up there, I wonder? Such limitless potential. Without any warning whatsoever, a certain Bijou interfered. You know, Kit, More and more you think like the Yondaime, despite having no flashes of memories. Don't you feel strange at the difference between the present you and you from before? Did I really think like him? Naruto asked. He once wondered what lies beyond the stars as well, going so far as to design a device that would have enabled him to see beyond the atmosphere of the earth that we live in, a design that was never materialized due to his death. Which you provided, by the way, Naruto said to Kurama, reminding the fox that he was responsible for the man's death. But then he chuckled, should have known a man like him would think beyond what he could actually reach. After he said that, Naruto immediately had an epiphany. What if the blueprint of the device is contained in his memories inside of him? Perhaps he could continue his work, but how to him that might work? Kid, Kurama began, already aware what he's going to do. I'm not trying to dissuade you from doing it, but it could accelerate the amalgamation process a lot quicker and altering you even further. Then why not push the schedule ahead? Naruto humorously said as he closed his eyes and focusing on the thought of the visions of Yondaime's memories and forcing the Yondaime's memories to the surface in the process. Swimming in the deep ocean that is filled with memories instead of water is a funny little experience. Due to him deliberately choosing to do so enables a somewhat lucid dream state where he views most of the relevant memories that the Yondaime had in his life. After navigating through the memories, he found out that if he wanted to get the blueprint, he had to start from the beginning. Makes sense, I guess. He shrugged and began with the memory of the famed shinobi training on the beginning of his career as a genin with his team. He was incapable of seeing who the two friends are, perhaps due to the Yondaime didn't particularly remember his genin teammates. But he did fondly remember about the man who taught him. His sensei was a man with white-colored long hair. The man looked kind enough, and Naruto deciphered his name from how Yondaime called him, Jiraiya Sensei. And he also learned the name of the Yondaime, which is Minato, Namake's Minato, to be exact. Naruto doesn't know how he could miss his name, even after all those times Iruka taught him and the other children. Perhaps it was due to his inability, or lack of will to listen to the lectures. Well, not perhaps, it was apparent that Naruto is not someone that likes to listen to a subject, unless it's easy to understand, doesn't take long, and involving him learning awesome jutsus. Banishing the thought away, the memories shifted again. This time, Minato and his team were having a gathering with the other teams. And there was something that caught Minato's eyes. The color of crimson from the long, flowing hair of a girl with dark violet eyes whose expression shows her serious demeanor. Naruto immediately knows that Minato is rather interested with the redhead, which he doesn't find as surprising. If Naruto had to judge, he will say that the girl looked rather pretty. She noticed his stare, and looked back to him. In response, he smiled as he raised his hand and waved, which was promptly returned by the crimson-haired girl, though she didn't do anything further like starting a conversation with him, or something similar. And Naruto noticed how somewhat bummed Minato was feeling at that moment. The memories shift again, showing Minato in front of an enemy shinobi while threatening the said shinobi with a kunai. He remembered this, one of the vague memory from his first time seeing the Yondaime's memories while he was sleeping, but this time, it's somewhat clearer. He remembered, or knows, that Minato and his team were in a mission to capture and interrogate an enemy shinobi from Iwagakure about the whereabouts of the Konoha shinobi that they have imprisoned. The man in front of him, or to be more exact, in front of Minato was captured by him and severely interrogated by Minato to the point that he is on the brink of death. After disclosing the location of the prison, Minato killed him, not in cold blood, but to make sure that he's not found by his allies, and told them that he revealed the sensitive location of the prison. He rationalized that the poor fellow would be killed either way, and it doesn't matter if he's the one that killed him anyway, they're enemies. It was expected that if you were found by an enemy, it's either you or him. So he planted his kunai on the enemy's throat as he covered his mouth to prevent him from screaming, watching his eyes as it goes from terror to blank empty brown eyes in a matter of seconds. The blond young man closed the dead person's eyes and felt the something trying to come out of his stomach through his mouth. But it's not Naruto who felt the sickness, it was Minato's. As he just watched the first kill that Minato Namake's did in his life. Opening his eyes, Naruto grimaced at the last memory that pushed him away from the memories. The last one was unpleasant, Naruto remarked with a deadpan tone. What did you see, Kit? Kurama asked as he's unable to see what Naruto sees during his memory walk. His team, his sensei, his first crush, as it looked like, and his first kill. Naruto listed off. When he mentioned the third, he felt a twinge of surprise coming from inside him. Finding it rather disturbing that he would have alien feelings or thoughts other than Kurama's, he decided to file it for later. Kurama didn't notice his subtle thought, however, and so he said, "That explained your revulsion. Was it gruesome?" "Not really," Doesn't change the fact that it was my first time seeing someone's life being taken right in front of me, though. His eyes turned blank and all wasn't really prepared for that, Naruto answered. Naruto heard Kurama sighing from his mind. But despite all that, you didn't regret doing that, do you? Raising his eyebrows in slight surprise, he said, how do you know that? I'm in your head, kid. I can feel your lack of regret. And in fact, your curiosity got even bigger than before. It's like you want to do that again. Naruto lightly groaned. Sure, he answered as he rubbed his forehead to quell some of the pain. But not now, it makes my head rather painful, so consecutive viewings is not an option. But then, he heard something, an unnatural noise, like faint whispers of a group of people nearby. He lifted his upper body up and positioned himself in a sitting position. The first thing that he saw was the flicker of the faint lights coming from the terrace of the villagers' houses. But then there are movements that caught his eyes, movements that came from a group of two people that is moving rather peculiarly near one of the houses. In their hands, they carried some kind of a stick, but it was quite dark for Naruto to see. His eyes widened when he saw that there are multiple people that has placed themselves on the villagers' houses. But due to the darkness, they didn't see him perched on the rooftop of the all-purpose shop. What the hell are they up to? Naruto wondered. He was answered when one of them gave a signal to the rest of them, and simultaneously, they lighted the stick that turned out to be a torch. And then they start burning down the houses with the torch that they have made. Fuck, swore Naruto. And with that, he could also feel a feeling of disappointment and anger that comes from within, and yet not from Kurama. Deciding to let go of the thought for the moment, Naruto saw the bandits began to run when they finished lighting most of the buildings in the small settlement. Like hell you're going to leave? Naruto said as he grits his teeth. He extended his hand forward, and the bandits found themselves floating due to Naruto's psychokinetic power. Then he closed his previously open palm and the bandits reacted to it by being pulled into a single point with so much force that you can hear some of their spines crack due to the amount of force being put. As they were still recoiling from the impact, Naruto flew down faster than his usual speed due to his anger fueled his adrenaline to its maximum amount, and forces him to go faster, and to which he complied. Looking at the houses that are starting to catch on fire and hearing some of them started screaming, Naruto decided to let the bandits in their incapacitated state for the moment, and save the people first. But he decided to give all of the bandits a punch in the head first, in the form of kinetic force equal to a half-a-pound rock being thrown at 25 to 40 miles per hour. That should keep them unconscious for longer, Naruto wryly thought. Flying with the fastest velocity that he could achieve, he rescued the people trapped inside using his psychokinetic powers while forcing himself to his limit to make the rescue process a lot faster. Gladly, the rescuing people part wasn't that hard. It only took him 1 minute and 48 seconds to rescue everyone and putting them quite far away from the settlement. When he was done, Naruto looked at the people he just rescued. Due to his speed, their mind didn't yet compute the fact that they have just been rescued. One of the many people that he just rescued was a family, consisting of a man and a woman, along with their 5-year-old daughter, and their baby who is still being carried by his mother due to his age, which is 6 months old. Then the family and the others that he has rescued looked towards him, most of them in awe as they quickly, and correctly, deduced that he was the one that saved him, in some way or form, and the rest of them was confused as to how they managed to get from their burning house to the field. Naruto looked back towards the burning houses, and he decided that with his power, he could do something to prevent them from losing their homes and their belongings. He turned towards them, particularly at the girl from the family that he just saw, who is looking at him rather expectantly, as if she wants him to help them. Deciding to do just that, he said, all of you stay here, alright? I'm going to put out the fires first. How are you going to do that, Oniai-san? Asked the little girl with the pigtails from the family that he saw. Deciding to put up a front to comfort the little girl and the settlers that had also turned to him due to what the girl said, Naruto replied with an assuring smile, just trust me, and watch. Naruto raised his head upwards before he flew, surprising the settlers and headed towards the river that he had found before. Arriving at his destination, Naruto pulled every last bit of his power to pull the flowing water in a large amount and converge all of them into a large floating reservoir of water. Gripping the water tightly using his vastly improved telekinesis ability, he brought the large amount of water back to the settlement, just in time before all of the buildings can be reduced to ashes. Closing his eyes for a moment to concentrate, he moved his hand, and the water followed, as if it was commanded to. Naruto made it hit every buildings on fire, and in turn, putting the fires out in the process and saving the settlers' properties as well. After it was done, Naruto breathed a sigh of relief and threw the previously massive amount of water to the nearby forest. He was relieved because in that narrow window, he managed to save most of the settlement and its people from being burned to the ground and captured the arsonists who did those as well. Speaking of which, Naruto turned his head towards the bandit arsonists who are starting to retain their consciousness. But as they're groaning, Naruto flew down, and when he landed, he starts to walk menacingly towards them, his eyes filled with such killing intent that it made his visage rather terrifying. Most of the bandits didn't notice this, however, but one of them did. As Naruto extends his right hand towards him and activated his psychokinesis ability to lift the poor bandit up in the air, using his neck as the point where he grabbed him. The bandit tried to breathe, which Naruto gave by loosening his grip a little, but then he pulled him closer and said, "Who ordered you to do this?" with a tone that sent chills down the bandit's spine. Despite knowing that it was only a young man who was interrogating him, the bandit dared not to answer incorrectly. It was our leader." When Naruto received nothing more from the bandit, he continues, "Well, what's his name then?" he said as he tightened the clutch he had put on the bandit's neck. "Inoki. Genma Inoki. There was someone spying on our outpost yesterday, a woman with blonde hair. When she left, he ordered some scouts to follow her. They were unnoticed, and when he figured out where she is, he ordered us to burn the place to the ground with her in it to prevent her telling the others about our location," he choked out. Enraged at what he heard, Naruto asked, "The people here have nothing to do with this. Why would he want to do that?" He's mad. "I don't want to do this either, but he threatened to kill me if I don't. What am I supposed to do?" Naruto gritted his teeth. He doesn't blame the bandit for fearing his insane superior's wrath, but even so, this man has to be punished. He released the grip he has on the bandit, leaving him on the ground while he catches his breath. Naruto clenched his fist hard enough that it turned white. This man Genma Inoki is a man with no regards for others, lives in favor for his own safety and amusement. Then he remembered the blonde woman that they saw. Could it be? He gathered the bandit in one spot with his psychokinesis power. Turning his head towards vigilance, he remembered that there was a large rope from the storage room. Flying using his power, he flew at an incredible speed towards the all-purpose store and returned with the rope in hand. Then he uses his power on the rope to bind the bandits, rendering them immobile. "Is this all of you?" he asked the bandit that he had interrogated earlier. He nodded, rather afraid of Naruto after seeing what he could do. "Good." Turning his head to where he put the townsfolk, he can see them coming towards their settlement. Perhaps it was due to them seeing what he had done to save their houses. It's not a sight that you can see every day after all. He looked at the bandits one last time before saying, "I'm not known as a ruthless man, so I gave you my mercy. But good luck getting theirs, boys," he said as he pointed towards the oncoming villagers. And with that, he flew off to the direction that Shinji and Shizuka had gone to, with the intention to help them. Not that he doesn't trust them getting the job done by themselves. They are pretty strong in their own rights and can neutralize the bandits with their skill. But he wants his share of satisfaction. Outside the large bandit outpost, the Sakihara siblings were watching the interior of the small fortress from the top of a tree. "You said that it was small?" Shinji said to his sister regarding the size of the outpost. "That can't be said as small, as the size of the layout could rival the size of a small fortress." "Well, to me it was small," she replied back. "Don't you start complaining. I once brought down a whole castle to its knees, remember?" To be fair, it was because the daimyo ordered his subordinate to not use lethal forces because you were just being informal to him, and the guards decided to take you on. And defeating a whole army doesn't count as bringing down a whole castle. It just shows that you're strong, but not that strong to really take down a castle by yourself. She pouted a little, but he does have a point. She was just exaggerating how she defeated most of the fire daimyo's guards when she was called there to meet him, due to her notoriety as the pulverizer of bandits, and to receive her exceptional bounty from an infamous bandit known as the Red-Haired Bastard. She had addressed the daimyo rather informally, angered one of the guards and prompted him to attack her. Despite his subsequent loss due to a mighty punch to his abdomen, the other guards were riled up, which was foolish, considering that the daimyo didn't seem to mind her informality, and that he never ordered for them to attack her. But he did find her battle with his guards rather entertaining, amusing even. So he sat back and enjoyed the show. In the end, after more than 50 minutes, 98 incapacitated soldiers, 22 other soldiers who are scared out of their wits, and a Terminator of a woman standing amidst their fallen comrades with her expression is adorned with a grin that could scare the life out of Shinigami himself, the daimyo ordered his guards to stand down and for her to stop the onslaught. Granted, she did exaggerate the fact, but it was just for a little bit. "All right, It looks like there are approximately 50 bandits inside. The prisoners are presumably being caged in the dungeon, but the leader isn't out in the open, probably he's somewhere inside this thing. Then wheel. Whatever Shizuka's about to say were cut short when there was the distinctive sound of a howling wind that they could identify only as one thing. The arrival of the Wonder Boy Uzumaki Naruto. True to what the siblings thought of, they saw the figure of Naruto flying in the air, until he stopped directly above the outpost. He lingered there for a moment before he flew upwards again. What is he going to? Shinji's answer came in the form of the whiskered boy coming down with an incredible speed. Boom! And when he landed, he instantly delivered a kinetic explosion which magnitude can be equal to that of an explosion that could destroy a large building. All in all, it created quite a spectacle. The aftermath is not so beautiful, however, as the ground that Naruto had landed upon became cracked due to the force that he emitted, and his surroundings was filled with the debris from the wall of the outpost and the bandits that was repelled by the force of the explosion. Most of the bandits were wounded, either because of the debris that fell upon them, or because they were in a close proximity of the impact that it rendered them near to the brink of death due to the collateral effects of the explosion that flayed parts of their skin. Even the few who were lucky enough to be alive were wounded in one way or another, but because they retained their consciousness, they were able to see the one who did such a thing. And they certainly did not expect that it would be a boy of 12 to 14 years of age, despite the look in his eyes that shows he is far more mature and collected than his actual age. Not to mention that his eyes currently shows how absolutely furious he is. The Sakihara siblings collected themselves pretty fast and saw that Naruto is beginning to march into the leader's den. And as he walks towards it, the door leading to the den was opened, showing a big, burly man wearing an impressive-looking traditional armor. His expression shows his anger at the destruction that has been wreaked at his base. Well, that, or the anger could have come from being interrupted by whatever he was doing before, more so if he find it enjoyable. What the hell happened here? He yelled out loud as he watched his outpost utterly ransacked and his men were on the ground, incapacitated. Take a guess. He heard someone yell back, and when he turned to the source, he saw a young man walking towards him rather menacingly. What the hell do you think happened here, Genma Inoki? What could possibly be the cause of such destruction? He asked rhetorically with a bit of sarcasm dripping through his tone as he expanded his arms outwards. Who are you, you insolent boy? How dare you talk to me like that? He boisterously yelled. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and I dare, because you are not someone worthy to be polite to. The blond boy answered, his eyes focused towards the man. Naruto had every intention to give a lesson not to destroy an entire settlement just because he doesn't like someone loitering on his fortress. The man flinched at his gaze. It's as if he's staring into a deep abyss, and it began to return his stare with its own. But he foolishly put a bravado and goes, what do you want? Naruto gritted his teeth, and said, to teach you a lesson? You ordered the settlement of Shirohane to be burned down to the ground just because someone saw this outpost, correct? However, Naruto didn't even let him talk as he continues, I don't want to hear you answer it. Whether it's a yes or no, it doesn't matter, you can confess or you can lie. But I've heard the truth from one of your subordinates, so whatever your answer's going to be, it won't matter. After Naruto finished his talk, the surroundings began to subtly shake, as if there is some kind of an earthquake. However, Genma didn't pay attention to the tiny quake, as he was stricken with great fear at the young man in front of him. He's just like him, he thought, terrified at the realization that this young man's eyes shows anger, and that he felt that this Naruto Uzumaki could murder him with just the flick of his finger. If he only knew. Because you disgust me with your vile intention, how dare you even think of murdering a whole town just because someone saw your so-called hidden outposts? People like you deserve their just retribution. Genma tried unsheathing his blade, only for him to be stopped midway by some unknown force that forces him to stay still. And when he was stopped, his ears heard a strange noise, like a humming noise that can be made if you hit a large hollow bronze bell with a hammer, such noise that shouldn't have occurred naturally, or without any visible source that could have made it. He would have moved, but his ability to do so were halted, and even though he didn't exactly know how it could have happened, he had a feeling that the boy in front of him is the perpetrator of such unnatural occurrences. Genma gritted his teeth. Despite his fear, there is an underlying rage that compelled him to at the very least fight the boy that could control forces beyond human limits. But his efforts are for naught, as his strength cannot even budge through Naruto's hold. Slowly, Naruto approached him, his fist clenched in anger, and in doing so, he unconsciously lifted the dusts and pebbles around him in a fit of power-enhanced rage. And then, his punishment came in the form of a very powerful punch to his stomach. If it were a normal punch, Genma wouldn't have felt the repercussion of the impact. However, Naruto's ability allowed him to amplify his attack due to the layer of kinetic barrier surrounding his skin that made his skin as hard as steel, if not more, and he also delivers a kinetic explosion that nearly destroyed the steel armor that Genma wore. Meaning, in addition of punching him with a force equal of a charging bull that has been genetically enhanced to be overly muscled, he also sent a kinetic explosion that wounded his innards, doubling the previous effect in the process, wounding him both externally and internally. He was sent flying through the forests, and ended up destroying several trees in the process. In the end, it left him as nothing more than a bloody man. After doing that, Naruto closed his eyes and steadied his breathing in order to quell the rage inside of him. "Satisfied, kid?" Kurama asked through their link. After a couple of breaths, he responded pretty much, but was that man the so-called war beast? If so, he doesn't seem to be as strong as the stories told us. He wasn't, Kurama answered. If I've to speculate, he was once a part of the war beast group, but he dissented for some reason, and built another group of his own. Some of the war beast's trusted men might have followed him also due to their similar ideas, whatever that may be. Naruto hummed in response, despite his numbing headaches that's starting to plague his mind. Interesting speculation, but let's find the prisoners, yeah? I think Shizuka mentioned that they captured prisoners here. They're at the dungeon. Hearing the familiar voice of one blonde woman that he knows, he turned around and found Shizuka Sakihara coming towards him. The naturally made cave was made into a dungeon by them to hold any dissenters or prisoners. Despite seeing her serious expression, Naruto said, "Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go." But before Naruto could even walk towards the dungeon, his arm was gripped tight by Shizuka. "Shinji will take care of that." The moment she said that, Naruto turned around towards the cave, and there Shinji was, going inside the cave to rescue the prisoners, leaving Naruto with Shizuka. What happened at Shirohane, Naruto? His subordinates was going to burn it down. He answered simply, prompting Shizuka's eyes to widen, but he calmed her down by saying, "Don't worry though, I stopped them before they could manage to do so." Shizuka's expression turned to relief that he managed to stop them, but then she trailed off, a bit afraid of saying what she wants to say next. Kill them? No. For a moment, Shizuka felt relieved, but I did left them at the settlers' mercy, don't know which is worse. And her relief was instantly gone. A mob could, technically, deliver a much harsher punishment to the arsonists. But I don't know about that guy though, Naruto nonchalantly said about the man whom Naruto had sent towards the forest at terminal velocity. Shizuka sighed. She could understand his anger at the man's intention, and she could understand why he punished him that way. Therefore, despite being dissatisfied with his actions, she decided to let it go. "Don't worry, he probably deserved worse," Shizuka said. Sighing more to himself, Naruto replied with a weak maybe. As they looked at the destruction he had caused, Shizuka said, "For just spending 2 days with your ability without any mentor, you sure get powerful fast." Naruto smiled, albeit rather awkwardly, because as much as he liked the praise, he knows that he got this powerful because he had help from hundreds of clones that could share their knowledge and memories the moment they dispersed, and the wisdom, putting it rather mildly, from an energy being shaped like a fox. "Yeah, well, as much as I like to say that I did it all on my own, I had some help." She turned towards him with an expression akin to surprise, and asked him, "Really? Who?" "As I recall, no one else had an ability like you, even shinobis from any major village such as Konoha." "Well, trade secret, that's all I could say about that." Before Shizuka could say anything more, Shinji, along with the prisoners, got out of the man-made dungeon. Some of them looked horrible, granted, they could look worse if they weren't rescued. Glad that I came before their conditions could get any worse. As the last of the prisoners was escorted, Naruto turned to Shizuka. "Well, what happens now?" It took a moment before Shizuka said, "Well, I need to bring that guy to someone who can tell me how much that guy's worth," she said as she points towards the direction that Genma had flown off to. "And I usually take the loots that they have in addition to the money that I got, but it seems that these people need them more than I do." Naruto nodded in understanding. "So that leaves this base as somewhat of a loose end, right?" "Right," Shizuka confirmed. "Usually, I would leave it well enough alone, but if this were to be left this way, it could leave some people to use this place again. This fortress is pretty big." "True," Naruto muttered. Then he smirked, and said, "Do you think we should ransack the place?" Returning his grin with her own, she replied, "It seems we're of the same mind here. Let these people out first, take whatever we can, and then come back and destroy this place." Shinji, who was watching from quite a distance, merely sighed, seeing the sight of the two blondes grinning like a maniac at the prospect of destruction. Another one of her kind, eh? I don't know if it's because she rubbed off on him too much, or it's because it's his nature either way. Either one of them is better than the other, I guess. 20 minutes later. In the middle of his task of escorting the former prisoners, along with bringing the loots with him to be shared equally among the previously captured and dragging the unconscious named Genma Dash, Shinji could hear the sound of the fortress destruction, even when they are quite far away. The humongous woods that were used as the walls of the fortress was taken down by brute force, but whether it was from Naruto or Shizuka, he doesn't know. Given that his sister is very strong in her own right, it doesn't surprise him at the least if she were the one who took the walls down and not Naruto. Seeing that some of the people he's escorting turned towards the fortress, he said, "Alright people, let's just move forward and leave the juggernauts do what they do best, alright?" To which they comply. But after continuing down the road for another 20 minutes, he and the rest of his escort stopped in their tracks again as they felt an unnatural movement of the wind. Turning towards the way the wind blows, he saw that it's starting to form a tornado right in the middle of the fortress, presumably adding to the destruction that the two blondes have caused before. But he had a feeling that it was not a freakish coincidence. In fact, considering his ability, it's not a big surprise that it's him that summoned that. But despite that, he sighed in disappointment. "I wish I was the one who can see whether it's really him or not," he thought before he shook his head. Of course it's him. If not him, who else could make that? The idea that there's someone else that could move everything with his mind other than the blonde-haired boy scares him somewhat. "Honestly, do you really do that back there?" Shizuka asked in disapproval towards the younger blonde she's carrying on her shoulders. "I don't. It was worth it though," he replied back with tiredly. Shizuka sighed as she remembers how they got to this position. They were just finished thoroughly ransacking the place, with her using her abnormal strength and Naruto using the new technique dubbed kinetic shockwave that can annihilate large constructs in a wave of destructive kinetic energy. And she had to say that it was rather satisfying. Granted, it's not like pummeling a bandit, but it was as satisfying as that, if not more. But then, while they were just finished destroying the majority of the fortress, Naruto grinned and said, "I think I have an idea. I would like you get as far away as you can. There's something I got to test." A bit confused by his sudden request, she replied, "Why do I feel that I'm not going to like this idea?" He merely chuckled and answered, "You won't, but this is something that I have to test." She didn't know why she agreed at the time. But after stopping at what she deems as a safe distance, she saw as the wind began to speed up and converge in the center of the fortress in the form of a large tornado. After a few minutes of gawking at the sight, she went back to the ruined fortress and found the figure of an extremely exhausted Naruto, who was supporting himself with both his feet and his hands as he tried to breathe regularly. In the end, she had to carry him, because he was severely weakened after doing such a feat that he cannot even stand up properly. And not to mention that you never tried that before? Your current condition could be worse than it is now, do you realize that? Naruto sighed yet again. "I apologize for my reckless behavior," he apologized, before he smirked, "but you got to admit that it was rather awesome." Yeah, if I have to be honest, it was quite awesome." Sharing the same lopsided smile, both blondes continued their way towards the settlement. When they arrived, they saw that most of the settlers have already fixed the damages that the fires had caused. Thanks to Naruto's intervention, it didn't create significant damages. And it seems that the would-be arsonists are still tied up without any additional bruises, which suggests that the settlers didn't torture them or do something akin to that notion. Something that makes Naruto rather proud of them. Despite leaving them to their mercy, the settlers didn't stoop down to the level of these bandits. Hey, it's him!" someone claimed. Hearing someone yelled as he points towards Naruto, the others stopped whatever they were doing and looked at him. And when they saw him, their face brightened, as they saw the young man who had saved them. In a matter of seconds, Naruto, along with Shizuka, who is still carrying him, were surrounded by dozens of people. Most of them are praising and thanking him for what he had done. "What's your name, kiddo?" one of them asked. "Naruto, Uzumaki Naruto," he answered. "Your name is Fish Cake?" That question earned some laughs from the settlers, including Naruto himself, and it seems he's not that irritated with it, but he did correct him. "No, it means maelstrom." To which everyone hummed in understanding. "Alright then, everyone. Let's hear it for Uzumaki Naruto." The oncoming Aurora and Hiya were not entirely unexpected, but it did surprise him nonetheless, that they would be so grateful to him. All he did was just something that he's capable of doing, and to him, it was not anything exceptional. All he could do in return, is to smile, and blend in with the happiness that he had brought. It was nightfall, and Shirohane once again falls silent. It took Naruto quite a bit of his time to finish talking to all the settlers. Given his rather short time living there, most of the settlers only know him as the new employee for the store that the Sakihara siblings had built. But now, due to his heroic act, the local children had given him some names, such as the Blonde Savior, the Great Naruto, and even the Flying Kitsune. He suspected that it's because of his whiskers, even though it could be any kind of animal with whiskers, like cats, maybe? How did they instantly connect with Kitsune, he wondered. But there was one name that really sticks to his head. You're Superman. And the name was proposed from the girl with the pigtails that called him Oniai-san when he rescued her and the rest of the settlers. Superman, granted, the name's catchy, it has that heroic feel to it, but I don't know, hero alias is a bit childish in my opinion, Naruto thought. And considering that you won't be doing any vigilante work, I don't think that you need any alias for any time soon, said Kurama. Yeah, and if I have to have an alias, I would like to be called the Gale Maelstrom. There was silence for a couple of seconds, before Naruto finally say, Kurama, is it just me, or the name sounds rather catchy? Fitting? Iconic? Completed Kurama. Well? He asked the bijou again. Quite mouthful, but it's a good alias. Naruto chuckled before he responded with, yeah, but still, it's not a necessity. But then he continues with, by the way, I forgot to ask you about my body's condition. What's really going on with my body? Ah yes, your abundance of stamina despite the lack of rest, Kurama said. It turns out that the crystal did change how your body works. Your stamina, strength and dexterity are above average human, or equal to an average soldier of war. Naruto smiled wryly at the answer that was given. Well, that's an improvement, I guess. Calling it an improvement would be an understatement, kid, Kurama remarked. Without even adding your power to the equation, you have the potential to reach the pinnacle of human physicality solely by getting older, and if you're more than willing to train it a bit more, I could very well become a nigh-perfect human, Naruto concluded. Exactly, and considering the fact that you haven't reached puberty yet, your body will improve more than it has now. It took him a few moments of silence to fully digest the information that has been given to him, but he concluded that the changes are not a bad thing, and it could help him in a long run. And when he realized that Kurama didn't put in the fact that sooner or later he would have a mind of the same level as Yondaime along with his psychokinesis power, he could very well become the strongest and the most respected shinobi that ever lived. Smiling rather